We are tonight's entertainment.
You will never find the more wretched hive of scum and villainy.
Excellent!
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Movie Mania podcast, where we talk films past, present, and future. I'm Sherman Trey White of Podcast Media, and joining me is the man, the myth, the legend. After the podcast, his
journey to the dark side will be complete.
Bandit Incorporated.
What? Hello, everyone. Hello, and welcome to another episode. So great to be here.
Yes. Of course, yes. How are you, Bandit? How are you?
I've been good. Yeah, I've been good. I've been sort of in the lab the whole time. How have you been?
Yeah, good. You know, I picture you in your cat out with your cat face and your Will Smith coat from I Am Legend.
Yeah.
Just sitting there painstakingly making a bunch of screens like how's this edit look? How's this edit look for Revenge of the Sith video? Meanwhile, you have a robot that reads off every comment that mentions when is Revenge of the Sith coming out. But it's out, people. Part 1 is out, so stop complaining.
Yeah. Yeah, I wish me working on it was more like Tom Cruise in Minority Report, but no, it's more like how you described it.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm doing good though. A longer day than typical. I had to do a lot of work for the short film I'm working on for a contest. But the script is all nice and completed, and it's turning out really well. Now we just need to film it before school ends.
I don't think you told me about that. It's for a contest.
Oh, well, we have this thing called UIL, which is a University Interactive League, and it's kind of this. It's a contest thing, and if you win, you win. Some people do it for academic purposes, like I know my orchestra. I'm an orchestra, and we do it academical purposes, but this is more of a contest type deal since this is like the third year they've only done the film competition. So, but my school goes on break in 2 weeks, and we need to shoot in the library for some scenes. I don't know if you've read the script I sent you, but
Is that what you sent me? Yeah. I haven't read it yet, but I saw it, and I wasn't sure whether you wrote it or someone else wrote it. But
the first third of the script needs to be shot in my library because that's the only place they'll let me shoot at school. So I need to get shooting there. But that's beyond the point. Anyways,
just sneak in on the weekend when no one's around and just film the scenes.
That's why I honestly thought about that. I'm like, okay, so we're gonna get some bolt cutters. We're gonna walk by, Mission Impossible lit, cut the lights on, and just. But then I realized I'd go to jail and I'd miss my Star Wars.
Yeah, when I was in high school, a friend of mine's like similar thing, wanted to make a movie, so we need to film in school, so we just that's what we did. We just went in at the weekend. We just filmed in spots where you can't see that there's no one behind us.
Wow. Yes, simpler times, I suppose. Back in the 1800s, simpler times. Yes.
Well, you millennials.
Oh, before we move on, I thought we'd bring up we've made an official Facebook page for the podcast.
Yes, we have. I was going to say that for the listener questions because I keep forgetting to put the post there for people asking listener questions. I've actually created a proper Facebook page for the Movie Mania podcast, and anyone can post anything on there anytime they want, so that you don't need to wait for either of us. Yeah, as admins to go in and say, hey, questions. You can just put questions there. Or if we talk about, or if there's funny pictures you want to send us, please, nothing pornographic. You'll get us in trouble with the Facebook people.
Yes, you will. Yes, you will. We'll be on the... Yes, you will. Keep in mind that I am not 18, and so you do not want to end up in jail.
That's right. And as always, this is not as always. It's a new thing. There's going to be time codes down in the description below on the YouTube, and also on the description on iTunes, so you can jump around if you get bored of us ranting.
Yes. Okay, and so our show today will be covering some of the bigger news that dropped this week, the mid-season finale of The Walking Dead, and Return of the Jedi, along with your listener questions.
Yes.
Okay, so, Bandit, let's get into the movie news.
Ladies and gentlemen, can I please have your attention? I've just been handed an urgent and horrifying news story. Cannonball!
So, for starters, I've done a lot of movie news today, but of course there is some Star Wars news. Just for a quick comment, after adding up all of the footage that has been released as of November 30th, we have officially seen 6.5 minutes of the movie. So I don't want to say I told you so, but I told you so. Not you, Bandit, but the audience. I told you also.
Yeah,
we have not seen too much. They did not ruin the movie like another trailer. But really, that being said...
It's been 6 minutes. It doesn't feel like 6 minutes, but...
No, and that's what I said, because they put it in what they thought was chronological order. There's a bunch of videos like this And so I think they're wrong about it. But like if you put it all together, like including all the repeat footage, it's like 14 minutes. But if you add just the new stuff, it's all like 6 minutes, and it just looks so good. Bandit, we're less than 2 weeks away.
Oh,
we are
so
going
close now.
I'm so excited. Wait. Oh my! After watching Return of the Jedi, I am now so hyped. Okay.
Absolutely.
Speaking of which,
I got a lot of stuff to say about Return of the Jedi too. I took all kinds
me too.
Of notes,
I've got a rant.
I know you
got
hate
a rant
it.
or two. I hate it less, but we'll get to that. As we know, Phil Lord and Chris Miller of 22 Jump Street, and Lego Movie fame, along with Cloudy with Chance of Meatballs. It's a good movie. They're doing the Han Solo spinoff due out in 2018. I think originally supposed to be done by Josh Trank, but thank God they switched that out.
Yeah.
They have been auditioning as of right now over 2,500 people for the lead of Han Solo.
Okay, so they're going with the new person. They're not going to just go, "Hey, Chris Pratt, come play Han Solo." Could you imagine if they did that?
All right, well, for starters, just because a guy gets mentioned multiple times to be put in a movie does not mean he's everywhere. People said that about Cumberbatch for a long time just because he was in a lot of movies.
Yeah.
That being said, they have auditioned celebrities, more or less, ranging from Dave Franco to Miles Teller to Logan Lerman, who I think would actually be a great Han Solo. But that raises the question, Bandit, who do you want to be our new Han Solo?
I still wouldn't mind seeing what's his first name? I can't remember his first name. The younger Hemsworth brother. Not Chris Hemsworth, his brother. Liam Hemsworth, that's it. I'd like to see him as a young Han Solo. I think because if he's young Han Solo, he's the guy who did shoot first and would kill Greedo in a bar, and he's got that toughness and that sort of that dark streak in him. Because let's not go with the kind of Han that we had in Return of the Jedi, where he's soft.
Yes.
So he'd need to be tougher and grittier and have that
honestly,
dark streak.
That Han was a little annoying, but I'm listening.
Yeah. So yeah, what would your pick be?
Well, they presented a lot of good ones. Liam Hemsworth, I think, after seeing Mockingjay, because I think he can play not bad guy, but scoundrel actually pretty well. Just my thing with Liam Hemsworth is that I don't know if he can have that comedic timing that Han Solo has. Because Han Solo, if you go back and watch New Hope, Han Solo has some killer moments. And Phil Lord and Chris Miller are comedic geniuses. And so this is going to be the perfect blend of action and comedy that we're going to want to see in the Star Wars universe. I honestly think if he can get the accent down, Taron Egerton from Kingsman he will. I think he would be perfect. If he can, exactly. If he can get that. My main problem is I want him to get that accent down. So start doing some vocal coaches. I'm not sure if they've already auditioned him, but if they can get him, then yeah. Or an unknown, because that's what they did with Force Awakens. They got relatively unknown people to star in this.
I think I mentioned in a previous podcast, for a young Han Solo, I would have liked it if it was like a Han and Lando as young men, because Han always says me and Lando go back a long way, Lando and me. So I'd love to see them as two young guys with Chewie.
Oh yeah,
and all that sort of stuff. But I don't know when Lando will be in it. But I'd still like to see him do
the Kessler. I want to see him do the Kessler run at less than 12 parsecs. That needs to be a scene in this movie. I want to see the scene where we see the life debt. People's complain about this movie about how we don't need to see a Han Solo movie. I'm like, well, we don't need to see any movie ever if you want to argue semantics. But people are like, it ruins the mysteriousness of this character. I'm like, Han Solo's not really a mysterious character. We know Han Solo's arc. We're just seeing what led to him.
Yeah, there's no mystery about it. There's nothing really to spoil. We just want to see him have a romp.
It's not like Boba Fett, where it's just like you're giving us Boba Fett. I think I understand more when people say, I don't want to know about that character. But yeah, I'm happy that they're going, they're going the broad spectrum of the casting choices with this one. Okay.
Well, actually, with you mentioned the Kessel run in less than 12 parsecs. Well, a couple of weeks back on the podcast, we talked about it was a long roundabout story, but we talked about the spice mines of Kessel will be sent to the spice mines of Kessel, smashed into who knows what. And we said maybe the Kessel run was him freeing some prisoners. Turns out one of our listeners emailed in and said, Actually, it's got nothing to do with the spice mines of Kessel. The Kessel Run is where they have to fly. It's like a race, but it goes past a black hole. So you have to skim past a black hole without getting sucked in. So apparently that was like the feat of, amazing piloting that he could do that no one else could do.
Oof.
So there you go.
Do you feel that? Do you feel that, Bandit? That's a drop in our Star Wars cred because we didn't know. Because we didn't know that. Actually, it's when they skid by a black hole. Every Star Wars fan knows that. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so it's like a space Sarlacc. He just refused to fall into it.
Okay, yeah.
We'll get to that,
Right. Yeah, we're going to get to it. Look, there are some great moments in that movie, but we'll get to it.
Yeah.
Okay, so is that all you have to say on the Han Solo casting?
Yep, pretty much.
Okay, so we got 2 looks at Zack Snyder's and DC's Batman vs Superman, which I think has caused almost just as much controversy. Yeah, which has caused maybe just as much controversy on this podcast. Maybe a little less than Terminator Genesis, so which we're not allowed to name, by the way.
Yeah, the movie which we cannot speak of. Yes.
Yeah, yeah. He who should not be named. Yes. Yes.
But yeah, we got 2 new trailers. We got a full trailer and a teaser for a trailer.
Okay, so I'll ask you, Bandit. Before we get into the actual trailer, what did you think of the sneak peek?
I found it really interesting, and I thought it was a really good way. Like I think probably the reason they did that is not just to let everyone know the full trailer is going to be coming out, is also to completely knock the wind out of the sails of any traction that Civil War got. Which it did. Yeah. Because Civil War trailer came out, everyone's like, ooh. But then as soon as that hit, everyone was like, what is going on? And that's like the perfect clip to put out there to confuse everyone and totally take everyone's minds off Civil War, which I think it did.
Yeah. So when you first saw the 40-second sneak, was your first thought, was it a dream sequence? Is that when you first saw the sneak, were you like, oh, that's a dream sequence?
Yeah, I immediately got that vibe. Everything about that feels dreamlike to me. And then when it was expanded on, which we'll talk about in a sec, with the trailer, I was like, definitely, maybe not a traditional dream, but some kind of vision of a possible future. Yeah. Definitely.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, when I first saw it, everyone was like, it's a dream sequence. I'm like, that doesn't look like a dream sequence. It looks like people are like, well, why is Superman so mad? I'm like, well, Superman can be mad. Superman's been mad in the comics before.
Yeah. He split into 2 people and fought himself. And Christopher Reeve,
wow.
He can turn evil.
No, absolutely not. No, but
I love that bit where he's drinking in the bar and he's flicking the peanuts, and he's flicking the peanuts so hard that they're smashing the bottles on the other side of the bar, and the bartender's like, "Please don't do that."
I love how he chokes air in Superman 3, where he's like just choking, and then he kind of vanishes, and it's just Christopher like trying to choke.
He blows out the Olympic torch. Just why? Yeah. Just because he's just trolling everyone with his powers. He
that's what I do.
He date rapes that girl. Ground. Remember? It's like Christopher Reeve. Yeah.
All right.
The best Superman ever. It's true. You watch that scene. There's that.
Your comedy's a little. All right. Okay. So
it's the truth. It's the truth. He does. There's that chick that the Lex Luthor substitute is sent in to, spy on him, and he basically forces her to make out with him, and you can imagine where that went. But
he pulls a Blade Runner.
He pulls a Blade Runner, yeah.
Yeah.
Not the head crushing bit, but yeah.
No, the Harrison Ford. I forgot the chick's name. Anyways, I thought that overall the sneak was really well done. I was freaking out when I first saw it. I was like, this looks great. I thought Ben Affleck looked great. I loved how they had Batman looking scared. Yeah. But then right when that mask comes off, he gives that look of just, you don't know what you've just done. And that look he gave, just like, I started smiling like, it's about to go down. I was so excited.
I like the Mr. Sundays edit on that, where he pulls off the hood and you hear this, and then he holds up the head and he holds up the hood and the head's still in it.
Yeah. Batman Superman, what probably should happen.
Yeah, it said Batman v Superman. It's over much quicker than you think.
I also like his Civil War edit, where it's just like all the moments in the movies where they cause a Civil War, like Civil War moment, and then like there's one point he's like, "Please tell me no one kissed me," and, like Thor points, and it's like Captain America, Civil Thor.
Yeah. Oh, but that whole 50-second thing, I think it's pretty much guaranteed it is a dream sequence nightmare because there's been footage of a toy line, which is the same design as we see for Batman there, where he's wearing the sort of trench coat kind of thing, and it's called Nightmare Batman, but night as in Knight.
Yeah.
So Nightmare Batman. So it's got to be some kind of vision or dream sequence or delusion or something.
Yeah, but overall, we can agree that we both liked the BVS sneak. I thought it was really well done.
Yes.
Yes.
What about let's talk about the big one.
Okay, now before we get started here with this trailer, let's all keep in mind that we are all massive DC fans. The Dark Knight is my all-time favorite movie. I love the Dark Knight trilogy. I even love Dark Knight Rises, despite all its problems. You know, I don't see how people can defend Return of the Jedi, and yet some people can, and they'll be like, "But Dark Knight Rises, that's a terrible movie." I don't see the correlation there. But my point is that we are both DC fans.
Yeah.
But that being said,
you must have really hated it because I don't feel the need to
I loved the Batman Superman trailer, but I hated the Dawn of Justice trailer. That's really ultimately how I can put this trailer into two perspectives. The first minute and a half, maybe even 2 minutes of Batman versus Superman and what they're building to, I thought I loved like 95% of that. Almost all of that looked awesome.
So just the Doomsday bit you didn't like?
Not even that. Even like Wonder Woman showing up was cool, and she looks great. Gal Gadot, physically is selling the role. I still get to see her act.
Yeah, but, we still haven't heard a single word from her. But anyway.
Yeah, but we still have time. But she looks great. But I just feel like you've completely knocked the wind out of your selling point for this movie, which you've been building to since going back to Comic-Con 2013 when he read that Dark Knight Returns quote, and then the Batman Superman logo came up, and you've been building to for 2.5 years now. You have just completely undercut by showing. It's like
showing too much. So that's your problem with it. It shows too much.
Not even that. I think it's just I guess so. Yeah, you're right. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I think looking through the different reviews and reactions and all that, most people are really enjoying the trailer up until the bit where Doomsday shows up, and especially Angry Joe's reaction was hilarious.
I haven't seen it.
He just goes, "No!" And then for the next 10 minutes after that, he's so shook up he could barely even get his thoughts together about how upset he is that Doomsday's in it. Look, I really enjoyed the trailer. I really liked a lot of it. I really like that they have some humor, that they've got some levity. They so badly needed that after Man of Steel. And I like to see that Batman and Superman are actually going to be friends, not just fighting each other. But, I have some issues with the Doomsday stuff. Because
now, I'm not even. I don't mean to interrupt you, but I just got to get this out there. I don't mind Doomsday looking like Abomination right now because
I do.
Doomsday is a character that can evolve. You can kill Doomsday. Doomsday is one of those characters where you can kill and bring him back. Say they have Wonder Woman snap his neck with her shield. I don't know. He can come back now and be impervious to getting his neck snapped, and he can come back looking like the Doomsday that we've seen in the comics. Granted, the CGI looks terrible, but I think the design of it, I can understand why they went that way, because this isn't the only time we're seeing Doomsday. I think he's going to come back maybe 10 years down the line to kill off Superman later on.
See, a lot of people have said that in the comments and that, but I don't agree, because I think it's very clear from that's the finale of the movie. So if he is going to evolve, we won't even see it in this movie at all. Yeah. So I was like, why not just make him look like Doomsday then?
I understand that. I don't have any disagreement with you. If you're gonna, it's like whenever the Picture of Apocalypse came out, and they said, well, it's not his final form. I'm like, yeah, well then why? Yeah,
then why did they make it like that?
Yeah.
Are they going to make 20 movies about it? I don't think so.
Exactly. No, but that's my thing. This is Apocalypse's only movie, but with Doomsday can come back looking more like the Doomsday we know. Eventually, I think building to the so spiky, just looking like just Mohawk, insane. But
Well,
Lex
here's the thing that gets
come
me
on.
though. Is like I don't mind them using Doomsday like so early on, because if they don't want to use the death of Superman story arc or whatever, that's fine. But the problem is, it looks like, from what we can see, it looks like they've only got Doomsday in there because they need a big hulking monster that will take all three of them to bring down. I'm fine with that,
Yeah.
but if that's the case, you could have just got a hulked up, roided out Bizarro, which is basically the same thing anyway,
yeah,
and then you can still say
yeah.
Doomsday for later on. He's not even
Yeah.
really... I mean, he's a monster that gives homage to Doomsday because he's got the spikes, but he's really not Doomsday at all, because Doomsday is genetically engineered by aliens to be a living weapon that they couldn't control, so they buried him deep underground on Earth long before humans even existed here, so he slowly digs his way out. This thing is made, obviously, by Lex, just like Bizarro, so why not just make him Bizarro, and then you can
That's a
save
great
Doomsday for
point.
later.
That's a fantastic point. Why don't that is entirely true. This may not even be. Wow, you just blew my mind. That's a great point.
Yeah, so
That's
it's
a
like I don't
great
mind them
point.
using Doomsday, but he's not even really Doomsday, so
No.
why even give
He really-
homage to him? I don't know.
Ultimately, Bandit, he really, because he has laser vision and all that, he really is just Bizarro.
Pretty
but
much.
He's just Bizarro that looks a lot like Doomsday.
But I do think they'll make it that he's a combination of the Kryptonian DNA from Zod, Amazon DNA from one of the Amazonians, and Atlantean. Because you would need him to be... Because if he's just a reanimated Zod, Superman can just snap his neck again. You don't really need Wonder Woman or Batman, So you need to add more to him that you need a Trinity.
I can
figure.
imagine, right after that shot you see in the trailer, Superman's like, I got this. And he just, walks over and just, snaps his neck again.
Well, speaking of murdering, this Batman definitely is a murderer now. Definitely is. Because we saw him snapping that guy's neck in the dream sequence. We're like,
I don't think. No, hey, listen. I don't think he snapped that guy's neck. Listen,
come on. It's a dream sequence anyway, so the guy's
go back to Dark Knight Returns. Remember what he did to Joker? He didn't actually, snap Joker's neck. He broke his neck, but he didn't actually snap it and kill him.
I guess that's possible. To be a stretch, though.
Batman,
He twisted the guy's neck so hard, he actually lifted off the air and flipped around. If that doesn't break your neck, I don't know what will.
I'm okay with Batman killing, because Batman killed all throughout that Dark Knight trilogy. I'm okay with that.
Okay, but he also, even if that's a dream sequence, say he doesn't kill. Remember in the first sort of trailer, there was a teaser, then there was a trailer, then there was this new one. In that, we see the Batplane blowing up cars. It has 3 people in it, and everyone said, you don't know Batman's murdering them because it could be remote controlled or someone else flying it. We see in this he is flying it. So even if he doesn't break that guy's neck, he blows up 3 people. He's 100% a murderer. And he is 100% branding people with that brand. So he's
I like that.
He's a torturer, he's a sadist, and he's a killer. So that's fact. It's all fact.
Sadist implies that he gets off by hurting people.
Well,
he
does. Why else would he do it?
Well, I think the whole branding thing is sort of to make sure the criminal knows, what's out there. The branding.
It's also torture. It's torture. It's permanently disfiguring someone and cruel and unusual punishment. So he's definitely a menace.
Well,
say what you will about Superman snapping Zod's neck or not being able to stop every building from falling over while he's trying to save the planet. At least he didn't go around and brutalize and torture people.
Okay, all right. Well,
he's a serial killer, basically. He tortures and murders people. Yeah. Team Superman here. Take down that menace.
All right, right on. I'm just gonna step away from that. You fully made up your mind. Okay, let's talk about Lex Luthor, or Lex Luthor Jr., since that's their excuse now. Because
is he actually Lex Luthor's son? Or?
Well, I did a lot of research on it, and every article was just this is, I think they're saying that this is Lex Luthor's kid, which is not an excuse for making Lex Luthor the Riddler from 1995's Batman Forever.
Yeah,
that's
a good comparison. He is just like that.
I was so into the trailer, and then the moment I wish I got my reaction on camera, but the moment he stepped on screen, I just went, "Oh God! Oh come on!" I felt I was.
Well, it's
mad.
Jesse Eisenberg playing Jesse Eisenberg, just like he does in everything else he's ever done.
But the thing is that we heard him talk in that teaser, that came up back in April, and we heard his voice, and I'm like, that doesn't sound like Jesse Eisenberg doing Jesse Eisenberg.
Oh,
that sounded sinister. that sounded like he's trying to do a Lex Luthor. It's got a little nasally whine to it, but that's because it's Jesse Eisenberg. But I like they were trying to do something new with it. And then right around that time, that picture of him being bald came out, and I'm like, oh, okay, so they're doing something. They're doing classic Lex Luthor. I like this. I can get behind this. And then I see this trailer. I'm just like,
it's very confusing,
no.
isn't it? He's all over the place
Thank
with Lex.
you.
You don't know who he's going to be.
However, he does look like he's having a lot of fun in that role.
Yeah.
He looks like he's having the time of his life.
As much as I would have liked to see like the proper Lex Luthor with the bald head and where he's buffed up and he's like stern and authoritative. Obviously, we're not getting that, but maybe we will later. I don't know. But as much as I would have liked that, I'm okay with him being comic relief if he brings in a bit of levity.
I just think that you could have done that with another character.
Yeah.
You
It
could
seems
have
like,
levity.
in the same way that it's kind of a waste of Doomsday, it's kind of a waste of Lex. See, now you can't bring in the classic Lex.
Exactly.
Because you've already recast him as this weird long-haired goofball.
And there are people that are saying that it's just a mask, the same way Bruce Wayne has a mask.
Yeah.
Which I'm sure is fine.
Yeah.
But we've seen Lex not in front of a bunch of people talking to Lois Lane when she calls him insane. He's like, that's the reasonable word for something too big for human minds or whatever.
But, the thing about Lex is, like, there's this weird thing going on with the characters. Part of it is, like, fan speculation. I saw a video from J-Raw where he's like, when Joker came out, everyone's like, he's not the real Joker. He's actually Robin. Then there was a whole thing with Ben Affleck. He's not really Batman. He's Slade Wilson. And now there's the thing with Lex Luthor. He's not really Lex Luthor. He's Lex Luthor's son. And people are saying, that's not really Doomsday. It's actually someone else. And J-Raw is just like, stop doing this. He's like, not every character is something else, okay? They just are who they say they are. Ugh.
And I can't tell you how much I think we've been over this, but how much I hate that Jason Todd Joker theory, because you are knocking out two characters.
It makes a lot of sense.
You're ruining. I think you're ruining two characters. I think the character of the Red Hood is such an interesting character on its own, and the character of the Joker. Joker's my favorite villain. I think that's the best character out there, best villain out there. And so now by combining the two, you are now making. You're now ruining at one or the other character, because how are you going to do a Red Hood movie if Jason Todd's the Joker?
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's just.
But it's like, there is one interesting thing also in that trailer. There's that bit where Superman, when he says to Batman, he's like, "Is she with you?" And he says, "No, I thought she was with you." Batman actually turns his neck in that.
Good.
I meant to mention this in our video, but I forgot. He's looking straight ahead. Superman talks. He turns his neck. So Batman can turn his neck in this suit, which is great.
Yes. Yes. I like the Batman voice. I think it's a great voice.
It seemed a little weird that he was... I thought that would only be when he's in the big metal armor suit, but even when he's not, he still has the weird robot voice. I thought it was a little strange.
It sounds more modulated than, less modulated than when he's in the actual, big... robot suit, the Lego Batman suit. He looks. His voice is a lot more. It sounds like a Transformer, but I think whenever he's in his normal Batman attire, it just sounds kind of like, like a voice modulator. Like to make his voice deeper, because Ben Affleck's voice isn't super deep. But I think it's a great voice. And look, I like that scene of I thought she was with you. That's how you do levity in a movie. You don't make one character the comic relief. You make I think that's where Ant-Man kind of failed and succeeded, because Ant-Man had such a wide variety of humorous characters, yet they still really relied on Michael Peña's character to be the big comic relief when pretty much everyone in the movie had their own comedic moments. But I digress.
Know what I think is because people talk Marvel's type of humor is very specific. There's lots of different ways you can do humor. The kind of humor that I want for the Justice League is like that, where it should be say the first 2 seasons of The Office, the American one. It should be kind of like the humor in that, because the humor in that is more like these subtle lines and these subtle looks between the characters. It's not so much cracking a joke like Marvel does. It's because, in The Office, each character is so distinctive that, if something happens, 2 guys can kind of look at each other and you know what both of them are thinking, and it's funny.
Yeah.
It's Justice League should be like that. The interaction between all the different characters. They've got distinctive personalities, so if Superman and Batman give each other a look, you know what they're thinking, sort of thing. It should be like that. Yeah.
Have you seen Justice League War, the animated movie?
Yeah, I've seen that.
I think that if you fix up some things, you fix the characterization of Wonder Woman. I think you maybe give a little more not personality, but give a lot a bit more motivation to Darkseid. I think that is a great way to do a Justice League movie. I think that's a wonderful way to do it.
And they're setting rushed, but it was still good.
They got 70 minutes. This one would
Yeah,
have
exactly.
2 movies to get it all put out there. So that way you can have Aquaman in there. You can do the whole Shazam thing. Like looking at that, I'm like, that is a perfect setup for a 2-parter Justice League movie. And they set it up in this trailer with the parademons. In that dream sequence, I'm like, that's stuff I liked. It's just it really is the Lex Luthor and Doomsday. It's the villains of the movie that are making me nervous.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about that, because I think we were going to talk about it, but we kind of jumped over it. Is like that dream sequence that goes on that we see when he's fighting the Superman Nazis outside. There's these flying monkeys of not the flying monkeys like Wizard of Oz, but yeah, you can see in that while he's fighting the Superman Nazis, there's Darkseid's parademons flying around. So I don't think they're also going to be a villain in the movie, because you got Lex, you got Doomsday, you can't have Darkseid invasion as well. So I think that's more of probably maybe Wonder Woman or someone else is giving Batman a view of this possible future where Darkseid has taken over Earth and Superman is his champion, and that's why he's got the Superman Nazis and all that stuff. So I think that's going to be a dream sequence that's there just to tease Justice League, because Justice League is pretty after this we've got Suicide Squad, Wonder Woman, and then Justice League.
That's a good idea to have, because that's going back to Justice League War. Darkseid tried that. He kidnapped Superman. He brainwashed him to kind of make him, his champion, and then Batman had to go in and rescue him.
Yeah.
That's a
and if
go ahead.
And if they can beat Marvel to the punch of having Darkseid attack Earth before Thanos attacks Earth, that'd be good.
Oh my God, yes.
Well, I think Justice League is a 2-parter, so they might have maybe Brainiac is Darkseid's underling, and maybe he's in part 1 and then it leads to Darkseid in part 2 or something like that.
I'd like to see Brainiac. I don't know if I want him to see it be Darkseid's underling, because we kind of saw
he's kind of got his own agenda, doesn't he?
Exactly.
Darkseid,
I feel like that would just kind of weaken him as a villain, because we kind of saw that in Guardians of the Galaxy, where instead of getting the Mad Titan Thanos, we got Ronan the Accuser, who could have been a really cool villain. And
I thought killed him off they kill every single villain. Stop doing that, Marvel.
Hey, except what's his face? They didn't kill off Abomination. That's his name. They didn't kill off Abomination. They didn't kill off Red Skull, and I think that's it. I think they've killed off, and Loki's still around, but Loki's pretty much in it, I hear, at this point.
Yeah. But he's died.
Yeah.
He's air quotes died in every single movie
Twice.
he's been in.
Yes, he's died. He's died and come back more than Phil Coulson. Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah. Okay.
So
let me ask, what is your favorite and most hated moment of the trailer?
I think my favorite bit, just for the big laugh, is where Lex is do not pick a fight with this person. Mm-hmm. That's for big laugh. That's probably my favorite bit. The more serious bit I like is when Superman says, stay down. If I wanted to, you'd be dead already.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
Yeah.
Because it's true.
Yeah, it's more accurate. I mean, come on. Come on.
I know,
we love going for the...
Because people were upset and they were just oh, well, Superman's still a killer. Superman's still he's going to kill Batman. I'm like, no. That's exactly what Superman would say in the comics. That's exactly what he would say. He'd be like, if I wanted you dead, you'd be that way already. It's like what he said to the General in Man of Steel. He's like, you can control me, You can try to control me, you won't. He's like, what? How do we trust? I've already been here 33 years. If I wanted to, I could have done something already. It's that just.
And it kind of fits in with the Dark Knight Returns fight too, where he's fighting Bruce Wayne. He gets sick of it, so he just hits him a little bit harder, and he goes, "That was 3 ribs just broke." He's like, "Don't make me do this."
Yes.
He could have squashed him at any minute. He wanted to, but he didn't want to. So yeah, so it fits with that. I like that.
Yes. And your most hated moment of the trailer?
Probably just the look of Doomsday. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. Well, for me, I think the line where he says, maybe it's the Gotham in me, but I have bad history with freaks dressed as clowns.
That's a good line.
That line, I was just like, ooh, there's so much history there. I'm so excited. Oh, Joker. Then, but absolutely the worst thing in the trailer, just I think the way they treated Lex Luthor just killed me. That was, to me, that was the first blow where I was just like, oh. After watching this trailer, I am now so less excited for this movie. This makes me more excited to see a Batman movie than anything, because I know it looks like they're doing Batman so much better.
Well, that's the thing with Lex is, like, even though I like the character he's playing, I'm like, I think I'm going to enjoy him for the entertainment factor, but it's not Lex. As far as I'm concerned, that's not Lex. And I'm like, if you're going to change the character that much, why not just make him a new character?
Make
just
it like
somebody
Maxwell
else.
Lord, or make it like Maxwell Lord or something.
Or make Toyman a billionaire and just make him Toyman. That way he can clown around like an idiot as much as he wants. Just don't call him Lex. Call him something else.
Yes. Make him like a subsidiary of Lex Luthor, maybe built to Lex Luthor, like for a Superman movie. I don't know.
Well, I would have liked it if it started with Lex Luthor already the president, because that was the storyline where he was the president.
Yeah, see, Bandit, we should be writing these movies.
It'd be good if, like, the last news report they make, like in Man of Steel, is like Lex Luthor announces his campaign for president or something. And
yeah,
then,
like it's playing in the background.
He's already
on
been
TV
president
or
now.
something.
Yes. Yeah.
It's like you see it in the background, like a TV run in someone's newspaper.
Well, you see
Luther
campaign
for
posters
president
somewhere. Luther for president. Yeah.
Yeah, just subtle hints. Look, I'm still going to see the movie. I'm not as excited as I want to be. You know, it's not like when I walked into Man of Steel, or as I'm walking into Star Wars. I'm just like, oh, like it's not like I'm actually more excited now for Deadpool than I am for Dawn of Justice, which shouldn't be the case.
Oh yeah, Deadpool. I forgot about that.
Exactly. It's out in 2.5 months.
And everyone's forgotten about it, but that'll do well. Like the reception for that's been real good. Yeah. Anyway,
once like January hits and we get that more marketing campaign, then everyone's gonna be like, oh man, Deadpool.
Sure.
Yeah. Okay. So, Bandit, let's do a little homework discussion here.
This week, each one of you has a homework assignment. You're going to go out, you're going to start a fight with a total stranger. You're going to start a fight, and you're going to lose.
Okay, so, Bandit, you have some homework.
Yes, my homework that you gave me was to watch Rick and Morty.
Yes.
And I watched the first 3 episodes of the first season, and I really liked it.
Oh, thank God!
It was really good. It's kind of like an evil Back to the Future,
exactly.
Mixed with like sliders. That's a really old reference, because he's jumping through these portals into different dimensions, and it's like every episode seems to be like they're making fun of some other sci-fi trope. Which is like
they really are.
Yeah, they're like raping whatever sci-fi thing is out there.
You really have to throw that word around liberally, don't you?
Well, hey, we're
gonna have to get you a bleeper.
But yeah, I really like it. It's really good, and I just like in the first episode, I like how he's just constantly. Hang on, Rick is the kid, isn't he? And Morty's the.
No, Morty's the kid.
Morty's the kid. I like the way that, like, Rick is just constantly has like no concern for Morty's welfare at all. Yeah. He's just constantly putting this kid through all these terrible trials and tricking him into doing horrendous things. Like when they're getting chased by aliens, he's like, "Take this laser gun and shoot them." And he goes, "I can't kill them." He's like, "Don't worry, they're just robots." And he's like, "Oh, okay." So he shoots one of their legs off and all this blood sprays. He's like, "Ah! Tell my family that I love them." He's like, "What?" And he's like, "Well, I took some liberties calling him a robot, but whatever." It's like, he's a horrible person. So horrible, it's hilarious. Yeah.
With Rick and Morty, it's like... now, did you watch the first 3 episodes of the first season or the second season?
The first season. The first season, because I figured the pilot episode would get me up to scratch of what it all is. It doesn't really. It just kind of throws you in the thick of it.
Yeah, the way the show opens, Rick wakes Morty up and it's just like, we gotta go, Morty, we gotta go, world's ending, Morty, we gotta go, and he takes off this spaceship and he's like, listen, I know they can worry about Jessica, but I don't want that, Morty, you're good, Morty. And it's just, and right away you get like the dynamic of the characters, and it's so funny. And honestly, I think the show gets funnier as it goes along, which is what I think works so much about the show. The mythology keeps building, and they built this universe without having to worry about building the universe. They let Morty is our eyes and ears into this universe, but yet they're still able to do episodes strictly based around, like you said, spoofing and just ravaging sci-fi tropes. Like, there's one thing to do about alternate universes and timelines that is just incredible. And I never like to look up the plot lines of the episode before I go in, because it's always a it's always a nice surprise. There's one about giant heads and making excuse me, and making a hit song that's incredible. Just it's just exactly. And Keith David makes a couple of cameos. It's when you watch it out of context, it's so stupid. It's so ridiculous and dumb, and like, what is this? But then you sit down and you realize
you kind of get into the flow of it, don't you?
Yeah, it gets how clever the show is. It really when I said it is my favorite cartoon on right now, I do really mean that. It's a great show. It's fantastic.
Yeah, I just watched. There was the one where they were making fun of Inception, and they were going like 7 levels deep and all this.
That's one of my favorites.
And they have the Freddy Krueger guy come out. He's got the knives for hands. He's like, "What is that?" And he goes, "It looks like a copyright safe version of a popular horror movie." Character.
How he says he says female dog, quote unquote, after every sentence.
Yeah.
He's in class. He's like, "Oh no, I'm late for class." He like throws that out there. And he goes home. He's got a wife and kid, and it's just it's so awesome. He's like that terrible movie, like that horrible movie you like, Morty, Inception. He's like, yeah, like that one.
Hey, what's let me ask you, because I'm determined I'm going to give you some homework assignment for next week. So, have you seen the Star Wars Holiday Special?
Yes.
Damn it.
I'm never watching that again.
Oh, I wanted to punish you by making you watch that
18 times. I've got to sit through Phantom Menace 18 times while having someone put sandpaper on my eyelids, then sit down and watch the Star Wars Christmas special.
Well, you wanted me to watch Rush for some reason. I can't even remember why you wanted me to watch it. But by the way, you also wanted me to watch Steve Jobs. I haven't been able to because it's still not out here or anywhere else. And from what I hear, it's having a hard time making its money. This is probably why, because the release dates are so irregular all around the world that it's hard to sort of jump on the hype train if you can't see it. So I'd say they shot themselves in their foot with that weird random release schedule.
Blame the marketing campaign, because that is a great movie. So blame that marketing campaign.
I'd so want to see it, and like
I think it's incredible.
The on the Film Brits podcast, they were talking about it there, and one of them mentioned, there's a song called Revenge. So I went and I found it on YouTube, and I was like, that's a real good song. So I'm going to see if I can stick it in my Star Wars thing somewhere.
You're going to see it January 14th. That's when it comes out in Australia.
Oh, man.
January 14th.
Still ages away.
Yeah.
All right, but I'll keep that on my list. So there we go.
Okay. I still really enjoyed it. Okay, yeah. And
actually, you know what, guys? We've got the new Movie Mania podcast. You guys give Trey some homework for next week. You guys make him watch something.
Uh-oh. They're gonna recommend like some weird Asian movie where it's just like
like Old Boy or something.
Exactly.
You'll be like, oh no.
Okay, here's my rule for the homework. Okay, I give the movie 20 minutes and then I'm out if I don't like it. Okay, that's the rule, because if I start getting multiple things of homework, I can't.
Trey.
Yes.
The whole point of homework is you have to finish it, even though you don't want to.
Okay.
No one in school could say to their teacher, "Hey, I started doing my homework, but I got 20 minutes in and thought, I'm bored, and I didn't bother finishing my homework." No, you have to finish your homework.
me in English class, like I started the book, and then I got 20 minutes. I'm like, you know what? And then
And the teacher's like, "I understand. A+. There you go."
She's like, yeah, great. Yeah, I was going to grade your papers. And I was like, 20 minutes in, I was like, I got bored. And so I just gave you an F. I'm like, fair enough. No, I'm kidding. I'm a great student. If anyone in my family's listening does, I'm a great student.
Yeah, I wasn't very good.
I'm definitely not reading a book called How Star Wars Conquered the Universe. I'm definitely reading Of Mice and Men. Anyways.
So yeah, Rick and Morty was really great,
Yeah.
and I'm probably going to keep watching it.
I'm so glad. There's a great episode about the Purge that's just gonna kill you.
Oh,
It's gonna
great.
slay.
I did
Oh,
wonder
my
though,
God.
because like only 3 episodes in, I was like, they've already sort of made fun of like 7 different sci-fi tropes in different movies, and I was like, I wonder how long they can keep this up, because eventually they'll run out of things to parody.
Well, a few episodes as they get more deep into it, they focus more on spoofing the characters' tropes themselves.
Sure.
There's one about it's more or less it starts to become more or less ideas that they're spoofing in themselves as opposed to just the tropes of sci-fi. There's one about, without giving too much away, there's one about fake memories that just is the funniest, is my favorite episode of Rick and Morty because of the way they decide to end it. There's one about TV commercials that's really great. It's really, these guys do some great work, and I'm glad that this show is popular now because it deserves all the praise it's getting.
That's good, because I normally have like one show that I'm watching like while I'm editing and stuff like that. I just sort of have it running on the side of my computer or whatever. I've been working my way through Dexter, but it's gotten kind of boring, so now I'm going to skip over to something else. So I might start watching Rick and Morty.
Yeah, good.
So that was homework for this week.
Oh, do you not want to talk Walking Dead?
Oh, that's right. I forgot about Walking Dead.
Yes, that's okay. That's what I'm kind of been building into here. Okay, so
Well, it's easy to forget that episode because not that much happened.
yeah, we're gonna get to that. So last week was the epic mid-season finale of The Walking Dead.
Spoiler
More
alert,
like
it's
the-
not that
yeah.
epic.
Yeah, and spoilers, of course, for the Walking Dead episode. Yeah, Darth Vader's Luke's father. Bruce Willis is dead the whole time. Marcellus Wallace, I don't know.
His soul is in the briefcase. We talked about that.
Yeah, his soul popped out of the back of his head, and that's why he has a Band-Aid on.
Yeah.
Anyways, so Bandit, what do you think of the mid-season finale of The Walking Dead?
If you hadn't told me it was a mid-season finale, I never would have picked it. It didn't really seem it. Well, I guess we were wrong about, like, we did talk about what they're going to do with that wolf in the basement, and neither of us picked last week what they were going to do, because we said I thought Morgan would either kill him, or you said he'd turn into a walker and bite someone important. Neither of that happened. Instead, it was actually kind of better what they did, wasn't it? It was
stupid.
Yeah.
It was stupid.
Stupid,
instead, they took 3 well-fought, well-trained, well-armed characters and make them all little wusses and stand there because a character that no one cares about had a knife to their neck.
Yeah, it was completely ridiculous. Like
a knife is not as quick as a bullet. A bullet to his kneecap would be very simple.
Yeah.
Like
and like well, wasn't it also like what was it? One of them was ex-military too. So
I think so.
Like the girl was ex-military, wasn't she? Like she's kind
Rosita?
of yeah. Like so, she could have made that shot.
Well, she's tough. Yeah, and she's been around for a while. Like
she could have shot him across the girl's shoulder. Like there's no reason they should have put their guns down.
I feel like if a character more like Rick, Michonne, or Daryl was there, this would have been a lot like. And I hated the whole conflict between Carol and Morgan because we talked about this last week. We are slowly morphing out of what makes Carol Carol. What makes Carol who she is that she takes nothing from nobody and she hides no secrets. She makes sure everyone is aware of what's going on and she takes care of things. She killed those people in season 4. With this, she wouldn't go and try and kill Morgan. She wouldn't do that. That's not something Carol would do.
She wouldn't try to kill Morgan. She might cut him to get him out the way, but she wouldn't try to kill him.
Exactly. If Rick trusts Morgan, then Carol trusts Morgan. That's how things work around here. So it makes more sense to where Carol would go and tell Rick about things. And granted, the walkers were coming in so that she couldn't go tell Rick. But then at the same time, she wouldn't try, especially since everyone in that room knew how to fire a gun and they had the wolf on the ropes. There's no way they would try and fight each other. That just seems completely out of character.
And besides, like, that wolf, like, he takes out both of them. and doesn't kill any of them for some reason.
No.
Like, he might keep the nurse alive because he needs, like, a human shield, but those other two would be dead immediately.
How are they getting?
As soon as they hit the ground and he gets the knife, they would be dead. No explanation as to why he didn't kill them. He had every reason why he should have. I did not like that.
How are they getting through those walkers?
Yeah.
That's your plan. It's like in Finding Nemo when they get into the ocean and there's in the plastic bags. Now what? He steps out into the. I'm like, so what? They're both gonna get devoured alive? Like, I don't understand. Like, didn't he get bit or was he just cut really bad? Like, I could have swore he got bit.
Yeah, I thought it was a bite, but then he said he was breaking into a car and he cut himself on like rusty metal. So it's like an infected cut. But I certainly thought it was a walker bite when
he's still a goner. He's still a goner because he's been sitting there for like what several hours because this whole
and he's looking pale and sweaty. He's gonna die anyway. But maybe his plan to get out is just throw that chick into a pack of walkers and then just run away as they eat her. Maybe that's what his plan is.
Yeah, I mean they'll be at it for a while. Am I right? Oh, Trace mean. No, but I didn't like that character to begin with. I think that it's that same chick that kissed the gay chick, right? That's the same. Yeah. That's the same. I don't like that. I think that she's pointless. She has no. They tried to make it seem like she was a tough character, and she's like, you know what? I'm gonna get through this, and they made her a damsel in distress. What? You know, it's not.
But like, what are they gonna do with Morgan now? Like, you can't trust Morgan anymore. You know, if he's willing to go to that extent to protect someone who wants to kill everyone, you can't trust Morgan. Like, you either got to exile him or lock him up. You can't have him part of the community anymore. It's too dangerous.
You can't trust Carol at that point. If Carol, because I think both these characters
at least she's doing it to try to safeguard the community, though.
I think Morgan's doing it because he wants. I think he wants what he thinks is best for the community. You know, and granted, it may not be what's best for these guys, but I think both of these characters did something that was rather out of character. Yeah. Because for all intents and purposes, Morgan should have let Carol not kill the guy, but she should have. Oh, there goes your chair. Not necessarily kill the guy, but she should have let him. She should have he shouldn't have been as hostile with Carol. I don't think that's what Morgan would do, and same vice versa with Carol. So this episode for me is kind of going to be that episode of like, remember that episode everyone acted really weird, like the writers were trying to get past some plot holes. Like I don't feel like either of this is going to have any play into the rest of this, but there were some good stuff in this episode.
Well, hang on, just before we move on, it just occurred to me as you were talking about what Carol would do. I thought, Carol's very sneaky. Like, she whacked him over the head, went through there, and then Morgan jumps in between them. What Carol would have done would be like, okay, fine, I won't kill him, you're right, let's walk away. And then she turned around and go, and stab the guy. She wouldn't get into a fight with Morgan.
No, because she'd lose, and she pretty much did.
Yeah, because she's not stupid, she's more smart like that. So she just, like, pretend.
Yeah,
that's what her character should have done.
The Carol from season 2 or season 6 episode 2 when she's taking out all the wolves and she has the wolf paint on her forehead, that Carol would not do what this Carol did, which really seems like the writers were just like, oh, we gotta have Carol do something cool because Jar Jar's the key to all of this.
They just wanted to force that dilemma.
Exactly.
Yeah. Even though it didn't really need to be forced, because we've already had that story over and over. And speaking of storylines that we've already had before, now it looks like Carl and that kid are the new Glenn and Nick.
Yes.
Just like how Nicholas tried to kill Glenn and he covered for him and we had to endure it. Now it looks like we're going through the same thing all over again with Carl.
However, I think what Carl did was the right move. My first thought I'm like, why didn't he kill him? He should have killed him. But at this point, or he should have told him. He should have told his parents. But it makes sense at that point in time not to tell Rick what he just did. I think Carl did the exact, because that's what Rick would do in that situation. Rick wouldn't just sit there and tell the whole group, "This man tried to kill me." He'd take it privately, take his gun, and then make sure that he's keeping his eye on him. And I think that's exactly what Carl should have done in that situation. Granted,
he didn't get shot in the eye though.
No, that's going to happen later on.
Oh, good.
It's gonna happen pretty soon. Speaking of which, things that happen in the comics. So, what's her name? The blonde chick. The blonde chick and her family's dead. Just gone.
Huh?
The blonde chick, Jessie, the one that Rick liked. They're gone. They're gonna die.
You reckon they're all gonna die?
Well, I mean, the scene is playing out precisely because in the comics,
Oh, that's
what
right.
basically happens.
Yeah, when they're walking out and the kids going,
they're
"Mom,
walking out.
Mom."
Yeah, and the zombies start attacking, and she's getting bit, and she's holding on to Carl's hand, and she's squeezing hard, and she won't let go. So Rick is forced to cut off her hand and take Carl with him while she's getting eaten, with her kid. I think she turns into a walker and gets away, and then gets shot by Abraham, which is cool. But
you know what? That's actually good. They should have had that happen, and then it would have felt like a mid-season finale.
Thank you. You cut out all that stupid Carol Morgan stuff. You dust that off, and you trim that fat. That way you can have that scene be in it.
Yes,
God,
absolutely.
But you know it's gonna. Yeah. Sorry.
Did you notice the bonus scene at the end of it?
No, my copy didn't have that end credit scene.
Yeah, likewise. I had to go and find it on YouTube because it was even after all the ads and everything. But yeah, they finally mentioned Negan. Not the introduction I would have liked for him. It was very, what's the word? It didn't have any pop to it. He's just like, hey, we want all the stuff in your car. We work for Negan.
Lackluster.
Yeah,
would you say? Yeah.
Like I have envisioned something like maybe you'd see like the intro they give for him is like you'd see like his boots walking, and you just see like the baseball bat with the barbed wire swinging as his feet as he's walking, and that'd be the introduction for Negan. Like something cool like that the fans of the comic could be like, oh!
And then the background you hear bow to the bone. Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
but they all seem
see-
like a
I
bunch
see
of
where you're going.
bikers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think this Walking Dead for me has been it was kind of a mixed bag as the season went on. Like its season started out so
Really
strong with like 4 awesome episodes. I think even that Morgan episode I thought was fantastic. One of my favorites of the series.
Agreed.
But
it's been limping along ever since then, hasn't it?
Exactly. The show has kind of gone back to that season 2 syndrome, a season 4 syndrome, where it's just, okay, let's have a conversation about this. Okay, I'm gonna go talk to Rick about this. Okay, Rick's gonna go talk to Carl about this. Okay, Carl's gonna go back talk to Maggie about this. And everyone's talking in circles, and it's starting to get, I'm getting season 2 flashbacks, and it's getting me annoyed. And now that I know what's going to happen, and that this place is going to fall apart, it's just gonna be them walking in the woods again. And that pisses me off and people are like, well, we're going to get Negan and Negan's going to be all cool. I'm like, I don't think so. If AMC has taught me anything, is that we're going to get maybe 3 cool episodes in the second half of the season, and then it's going to end with them finally meeting Negan, and then maybe we'll get something in season 7. I don't know. But
look, I don't know, but if they film them walking around in the woods to save money, but they've built that town now. So they don't need to walk in the woods to save money. They've already saved money by having the town there. So why would you remove them from the town? I don't know.
And this show gets 20 million views an episode. What money are you trying to save, AMC? Honest to God.
Hey, a million saved is a million earned, as they say.
Ah, jeez, I don't know, man. but you know what? But you know what's worse?
But it's not even that dire. They can still clear the walkers out from there.
Exactly.
You know, just like the new guys that show up. Well, Glenn's out there. Just draw them away with the cards. It's really not that difficult, to be honest.
I think what you do, you dig a ditch and you have them all fall in there and you set it on fire.
Yeah. Or you just go up to the second story of the house, like hang over and just spear each one in the head. It'll take a while, but just work your way through them.
I watched this show, this channel called Collider. They do a bunch of stuff like movie talk and Jedi counts and all that, and they do a recap show for The Walking Dead. And one of the guys on there, probably anyone who was listening is a Schmo fan. His name's Josh McCouga, and he had this idea. He said, "How about like back when the wall was still intact? He's like, why don't we just get a bunch of long spears and slowly sit there and start taking out one after the other? # long spears." And all the comments in the video was just like, "Why aren't AMC doing this?"
Yeah,
it's such an obvious answer too. You just get a bunch of long pointy sticks and just like what they did with the fence in the prison.
That's what I thought. As soon as they showed the town with all the walls, I was like, well, either you dig like a trench outside, so the walkers come in, they fall down. If someone comes along, tries to drive a truck or a tank through it, it'll fall in the ditch before it hits the wall. You know, you line up spikes like that. Yeah, you have a wall outside the wall. You don't just have one layer of defense. But I guess they didn't have time to get all that set up yet.
Yeah, even though they were in there for, 2 years. Anyways, that being said...
Yeah, but not until Rick gets there do they actually start doing anything. So.
Thank you. Speaking of which, Deanna, I thought that was a great death for that character.
Yeah, that was a good death. It's surprising she decided to die by commit walkicide instead of shoot herself.
I think she wanted to die fighting. You know, she ran out of... I really thought she was going to do 5 shots and then 1 shot to the head. But, I think she decided to go out, have all the walkers take her. Nice little screaming to the camera shot. Thought that was a powerful... shot. I thought she was a good character. Sad to see her go.
Yeah.
You feel that, AMC? That's a good character death. That's a good... God. Watch them bring her back and be like, I actually lived because I closed the door before I had second thoughts. I actually lived.
Yeah, she crawled under the bed.
Yeah, she crawled under the
See,
bed.
that walker actually fell on top of her, and that was being ripped apart. And then she crawled under the bed. That's what happened. But
exactly.
I'm still standing by because we're talking about they can't kill Glenn again now that they've done the death fake out. They can't kill him. After everything that's happened with Morgan, I think he's finally going to redeem himself by sacrificing himself, like saying, okay, you need to kill someone, kill me. I reckon that'll probably be what happens. And Negan will bash his head in. Because he can't be part of that community now after what he did, so that'll give him a good way to end his character. He doesn't have to kill anyone. But he gets to save everyone else by preventing a war by you got to kill someone, kill me.
That seems like a waste. That seems like a waste of Morgan.
But it seems like something he'd do, wouldn't it? Where they're like, we're gonna have a war.
Oh,
and
yeah,
he's like, if you want to even it, you can kill me. That's a very Morgan-y thing.
Your idea is it's a good idea to way to end that character. But I feel like if they end Morgan now, he has done nothing. No,
not really.
Nothing productive in the group at all. He's been a great character. He's had great motivations, and he's had a great backstory. He's been a good character, but he's done nothing imperative to the group. Even Daryl is a good action guy, but Morgan's done nothing. And so I feel like if they made a big deal to bring him back. They spent 2 seasons building this guy up as bringing him back, and now he's finally back. You're just like, oh, well, he's dead again. Well, great, congratulations. It seemed like a waste to kill off Morgan now. I think Morgan's safe for a couple of seasons at least.
Yeah,
I really do think that Daryl's gonna go.
But speaking of characters that haven't done much, when is that priest gonna die? Could someone just kill that priest already? Why is he even in the show anymore?
I don't even know.
I don't know. There's a lot of characters that shouldn't. But I'm
they
actually glad.
They should just cut to his body being ripped apart.
Yeah. But I'm actually glad that you mentioned that that blonde chick and her kids and all that get eaten by walkers. I'm actually glad because I don't like the idea of Rick being with that chick. Seems kind of weird to me.
How cool was it a couple episodes ago for Mackie to go she's starting to look like Lori for when she's talking about Judith? How cool was that just to be Rick kind of gave that look of yeah, let's hope not. Because that's kind of AMC being oh, we name dropped Lori. I'm pretty sure they got a bunch of tweets saying, hey, no Lori.
Well, I'd actually like to see Rick and Michonne getting together. I think they'd be a better couple.
I've been saying that for years, man. Come on.
Yeah, let's ship it.
Forever.
Relationship them.
Rick Shone, yeah.
Rick Shone. I like that better than Abraham and Sasha. I don't really care about them at all.
That's just gonna be a weird combination. They're both super depressing. Okay, I think that's all we can talk about from the season finale of The Walking Dead.
Sure.
Okay, so that inclines us to get onto our Bandit, our feature presentation.
And now, our feature presentation.
Star Wars, nothing but Star Wars. Nothing but Star Wars. This one kind of sucked. Okay, so...
Do you want to start? Tell everyone how much you hate Return of the Jedi.
Okay, so here's my story with Return of the Jedi.
Okay.
I saw it around the same time I saw the prequels. Because I watched all of them when I was little. I've been over my love of Star Wars before.
Yeah.
And Return of the Jedi has always kind of been that awkward, red-headed stepchild of where I'm just New Hope, Emperor Strikes Back, Return of the Jedi. It's just kind of it's the same way how you feel about Dark Knight Rises. I'm pretty sure I feel about Return of the Jedi. And and we started to rewatch it last week. Whenever when we did our Star Wars marathon, we never had to finish it, of course. But I remember just watching it. I'm just I'm so bored. It's just the whole time. And then, I went
Really?
back and rewatched it over. Yeah, I rewatched it.
So you weren't excited when they were infiltrating Jabba's base, or
No, I didn't
trying
think
not
any
to
of
get
that
eaten
was
by the
interesting.
Sarlacc, or
No,
the
I
speeder
thought,
chase on? None of that excited you?
Well, we didn't make it to the speeder chase. We made it to where they blew up the barge. That's where we had to end the movie. And I went back and rewatched all of it today. But like the whole Jabba's palace thing, I was a fan of Luke doing the Jedi stuff. I thought that I will still stand by that scene where he does like the weird kind of, he jumps on that board, lands on the pike or whatever, and then like R2 like shoots up the lightsaber, and he gives that look when the lightsaber turns out. He's like, phew, he has a look like, oh, you're all mine now, and he's like started slashing at those guys. That's one of the best moments in Star Wars ever. That being said, I'm not a fan of the weird slapstick stuff that they're all doing, of how everyone just seems kind of like incompetent the whole time, except for Luke Skywalker and Princess Leia. Like even Han Solo, who I guess is blind, so it's okay. But even like Lando and Chewie, they're all just being like, "Oh, what do we do? Oh, this is funny. Oh, Star Wars." And I'm Boba Fett. Come on, dude.
I didn't think there was any slapstick apart from the bit with Boba Fett, or where R2 zaps the little thing that's with Jabba.
Like when Lando's about to get he's about to get pulled into the Sarlacc, he's like, I'm like
he does that
guys.
scream when the tentacle gets his foot.
He's like, Chewie, and he's just like, I'm just like, come on, guys. And then and I didn't feel like I didn't think this was an exciting kind of. I thought the Rancor bit was more exciting than the Sarlacc bit. Really, I was not a fan of that Sarlacc battle, except for that green lightsaber bit. I thought that was great.
Yeah, that's right. We got two monsters in short succession in this.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, keeping up the tradition we talked about before of you always need to have a monster trying to eat someone in Star Wars.
Yes.
I still can't believe I didn't include.
I'm excited
anyway.
to see what monster they're going to bring in for Force Awakens. I'm excited to see what they're going to do.
Yeah, what the monster's going to be.
And how it's going to be a giant practical puppet. That's going to blow my mind. We're all going to clap and scream.
Probably will be, yeah.
Yeah. But Return of the Jedi for me, it's and when I finished it today, my first thought was there were some great moments in this movie, but I think they come few and far between.
Sure.
I honestly do. I think the scene where Luke first comes to Vader and he's like, when he first confronts Vader in that kind of area leading into what the Death Star or whatever, and he's like, hello, Father, I'm aware, and Luke's gone like full Jedi, and he's talking to him, and there's that moment where Vader looks at Luke and says, it's too late for me, son, or something like that.
Yeah.
And then Luke walks off, and Vader gives that look, and it's just Vader's mask.
Yeah.
But you can see just pure contemplation of like, you know what? I think that was the first time in the movies where Vader started thinking, this kid might be right. I might have to go. I think that's when he decided he was going to be good.
Isn't that amazing, though, that Vader wears a mask, and yet there's multiple moments where you feel like you can see his expression.
Exactly.
Isn't that incredible? That happens a number of times.
And then you watch
too.
the prequels and you're just like, oh. Like, how does a blank face have more emotion than Hayden Christensen? Honestly.
Yeah.
I will stand by that Yoda is the best actor in the prequels.
Well, in rewatching Return of the Jedi, it was basically, I gotta say, I kind of have a newfound respect for it now. The only thing I really hate in it is the Ewoks. But we'll cover that because there's a history behind it.
I have an opinion. We'll get to the Ewoks. I have an opinion. We will get to the Ewoks. But you were saying?
Yeah, but there's actually a lot of stuff in there that I like, and a lot of stuff that I picked up for kind of the first time. Mm-hmm. But anyway, one thing I want to ask you about at the beginning with Jabba's palace, Luke says, "I present you a gift, these two droids," and they're taken down into the depths of the droid slavery section, and there's a droid who's having his feet sort of branded with these irons.
Yeah.
And the droid is screaming in pain. Mm-hmm. Do droids experience pain?
Well, yeah, because C-3PO says ow in Empire Strikes Back and Chewbacca's fixing
They're
him.
basically fully sentient creatures.
Oh, yeah.
Aren't they?
Yeah.
So it's slavery.
They have emotions. Oh, dude, come on. Of course it's slavery. It's 100% slavery, of course.
But it's funny that no one ever everyone makes mention that it's slavery, and everyone loves R2D2 and C-3PO, but no one ever is like, maybe we should treat the droids a bit better.
Well, I
They're
think it's
built,
because-
but they have
I think it's
personalities
because-
and feelings.
Yeah, I think it's just because they're expendable. I mean, granted, that's kind of what the whole point of the movie Blade Runner is, but it's just
I guess
the
they
whole
don't want to get into that whole thing in Star Wars
Yeah.
because it's not supposed to be about that.
Star Wars isn't about, if you want to do 12 years a droid, if you want to do that, and have C-3PO make a movie about C-3PO's adventures as a slave, great, but they don't treat them specifically poorly, at least from what we've seen, like from the good characters in the movie, Han Solo badmouthed C-3PO, but the same way he'd badmouth an annoying person in the team. R2-D2 is Luke's companion. I'm almost certain that if Luke went into exile in Force Awakens, he takes R2 with him. I'm almost certain of that.
Absolutely.
Like those two are best friends. And it's R2 is technically his slave, but at the same time, in the same way, Chewbacca is technically Han Solo's slave, but they're still the best of friends.
There's a lot of slavery in the Star Wars universe.
Yeah, well, it's okay.
And the master
because
and
Jar
the
Jar's-
apprentice thing, that's kind of a slave relationship as well. There's a lot of slavery.
Well, it's okay, Bandit, because it's art, and Jar Jar's the key to all of this. It's okay, And the Ewoks, it's family, it's fun. Jar Jar's hilarious. But I think Return of the Jedi, it's infuriating because the final fight, it's a half-hour final fight almost, and you have the space battle, which is incredible. It's it's intense. You have greatness of Admiral Akbar. You're invested. Neenum is great. Lando's in there. They're in the Falcon. And you can see they're just Empire Strikes Back again. They're just losing. Nothing's working. They keep playing out the Empire. The Death Star starts taking out the Rebel ships, and then you have on the actual Death Star with Emperor Palpatine, let the hate flow through you, and Darth Vader and all that. You have that fight going on, and it just keeps cutting back to Endor with Han Solo and Leia and the Ewoks. I'm just like, no, thank you. I'm not invested in any of that.
Well, allow me to pour some salt in that wound, because I am rewatching Return of the Jedi. I realized that there is one person that is the true hero of the entire Star Wars original trilogy who single-handedly toppled the Empire and gave the victory to the Rebel Alliance, and it's not Luke, it's not Han Solo, it's not Princess Leia, it's not Chewie, it is C-3PO. Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely it is, because you watch that final battle. That final battle is where the Emperor is like, they're walking into a trap, and Han Solo and all that get captured and they get marched outside. Everybody's ruined, right? The shield generator's up. That means the space battle's done. They're all going to die on the ground. And then who shows up on the hill? Oh, I say, over there. Were you looking for me? And they go up to get him, and then all the Ewoks attack. C-3PO, it's the only brave thing he does in the entire trilogy, and he single-handedly changes the battle right there. If C-3PO was not on the moon of Endor, they could not rally the Ewoks, they could not get the shield generator down, and the whole space battle ends. C-3PO is a bigger hero than Luke Skywalker.
I can see. I got something to say to add on here. It's great to see. It's a great moment in that battle to see C-3PO step up.
Yeah.
But honestly, those two droids are the unsung heroes of the Star Wars trilogy.
Yes.
Think if R2-D2 has done so much to save, and to quote Margellus, he has saved everyone's tushes just bazillions of times in these movies. He has done so much. And C-3PO,
he's the one who carries the Death Star plans in the first one.
Exactly. C-3PO is the one that vouches for R2-D2 to be sold in New Hope. C-3PO is the one that helps him find R2-D2.
R2-D2 fixes the hyperdrive in Empire Strikes Back, so they get away at the end.
Exactly.
The droids are the real heroes.
yes, exactly. R2 carries Luke Skywalker's lightsaber. These.
But you know what I realized?
He kills those two droids in Revenge of the Sith. These guys have been saving everyone from the beginning.
But you know what I realized though is in that act of what he did there, C-3PO, single-handedly ending the Empire right there. So C-3PO actually toppled the Emperor. C-3PO versus Darth Sidious. C-3PO won. He beat him. But
it is still stupid how they were taken up by Ewoks. I don't buy that.
We'll get to that. But But
Okay.
the thing is, what was I going to say? Hang on, it'll come back to me in a sec.
Ding,
Oh, here it is.
Ding, ding.
C-3PO is like the reverse Jar Jar Binks. Because you know how in the prequels, Jar Jar Binks is solely responsible for giving the Emperor unlimited power, and he's an idiot character that nobody cares about? C-3PO is the opposite. He's an idiot character that almost no one cares about, but through one single act, he topples the Emperor.
Yeah.
C-3PO is the reverse of him. He's like the anti-Jar Jar.
Both are annoying to see on screen at certain points, but the difference, like, and I think this brings up the fact, like, in the honest trailer for Star Wars, they brought up Luke's whiny acting in A New Hope, and they also brought up Hayden Christensen's whiny acting in Attack of the Clones. I think the difference there is that one is just more likable. Like Luke Skywalker, his whining's more innocence, and Hayden Christensen's more arrogance. And with R2D2 or not with C-3PO, he's more stuck up, and Jar Jar's just an idiot,
annoying.
A racist, complete. I almost swore, a complete bloody moron. So there is a difference, I
C-3PO
think.
is the real MVP. Stamped.
Well, I wouldn't go that far.
So
I still think R2D2 is the real MVP because they wouldn't have made it to Endor if R2D2 didn't have that lightsaber in him. But that's beyond the point.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, and Han Solo, how useless is Han Solo in this movie? He does little to nothing in this entire movie. Also, Harrison Ford just looks bored the entire movie. Like
you think so? I didn't think so.
I don't like how my Han Solo, being kind of like. I think I know what moment killed it for me. It's whenever he looks like Leia shows him the blaster, and he looks and he's just like, "Oh, I love you." And I'm just
says,
like,
I know.
I
And
know.
he's like,
I'm
that's my line. You can't steal it.
I'm like, nah. I'm like, that doesn't work. I don't like that. It's just this Han Solo seemed. Maybe it was because we see him kind of look so innocent, like a child, in whenever he's blind. Though there was a great line whenever he's like, Boba Fett, where? But
he's definitely soft.
Exactly.
And I understand that's his arc. When we first meet him, he's an arrogant jerk who only cares about money, and by the end of it now, he's a guy who's fighting for a noble cause. So that's his arc. He's changed. I think he's still not
perfect
tough.
in Empire Strikes Back because he cares about people, but he's still that arrogant kind of guy. You can be an arrogant, kind of douche, but still be a good person, like Tony Stark in the first Avengers movie.
Yeah.
You can. There's a balance. I feel like they made him too much of a good stand-up guy in this movie.
Actually,
give that good
right.
stand-up guy to. Yeah.
I think Empire Strikes Back Han is optimal Han because he's fighting on the side of good, but he doesn't really care about the cause. He just cares about his friends more so.
Exactly.
So he's able to fight for good. That Han Solo can fight for good, but he's still not a wimp. Yeah.
Exactly.
So I think you're right. Yeah, that's optimal Han.
Looking at it as like a Jedi, a blue lightsaber is that of Luke Skywalker or Obi-Wan Kenobi, where you're all about peace and tranquility, and you're a soft kind of Jedi. That reminds me a lot of Han Solo in Return of the Jedi. And but a red lightsaber, you're the scoundrel, you're the bad guy, you're kind of you're the D-bag, kind of like Han Solo in A New Hope. But then the green and purple lightsabers are for more of the gray Jedis, the Jedis who will do good things but still be able to dabble in the dark side, but still be able to come back to the good side, like your Qui-Gon Jinns and your not Darth, but your Mace Windu, and that's kind of like a Han Solo in Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah, and Luke in Return of the Jedi, because he's on the fringes of turning to the dark side, so he's got a green lightsaber.
He'll just choke out people, like when he walks into Jabba's palace, he's just like, you know what? He starts taking people out. I love that.
Yeah. Well, he is very Sith-like in the way he approaches that situation. Once he's in there, though, where he's like, I warn you not to underestimate my powers. Like, they say the exact same thing about the Emperor. Yoda says that, don't underestimate his powers. But everything leading up to that, though, I thought about it and I was like, it seems like he learned this from Ben Kenobi, because you look at the way Ben Kenobi, when he cuts the guy's arm off in the cantina, the way he tries to approach that situation is first he's trying to sort of negotiate and settle the situation down, but as soon as it gets to the point where he's like, no, it's going to be violent, he just straight out with the lightsaber, off with the arm, straight across the guts, you're done. And like
Exactly.
the whole way Luke handled Jabba in this was pretty much like that. It's on a bigger scale. But yeah, like first he like tries to be nice and tries to buy him and negotiate. Then that doesn't work. He sends in Leia to try to like sneakily get him out of there, again with non-violence. When that doesn't work, he's like, okay, I have to kill everyone.
Exactly.
So he goes
And
in there
again,
and rips one of the guy's blasters, tries to shoot Jabba in the face, and then blows up the barge and kills everybody. Yeah.
Yeah. Good moment whenever he's just like, it reminds me a lot of Empire Strikes Back whenever Han first sees Vader. It's just, and like, right away, he just like, with no resentment, just
No
like, you know what,
hesitation.
like, take him down. That's a, You know what this movie made me want to do? Maybe want to go back and watch Empire Strikes Back again. Like, can I go back and watch the good Star Wars movies? But it's just, and going to that Luke v. Vader fight, there's so much going on there, and I think that's why I can't necessarily call Return of the Jedi trash anymore, because I can see where they were trying to go with this, and I can see what they were trying to get across. Because when they get it right, man, do they get it right! It reminds me a lot of Revenge of the Sith. Return of the Jedi does a lot, because with Revenge of the Sith, when they get
like
something
poetry,
right,
they rhyme.
Well, it's like poetry, Bandit, because it rhymes. And faster and more intense, yeah. Yeah, and it really, like, when they got it right, they really got it right. The ending of Revenge of the Sith is wonderful. That first half of the Anakin Obi-Wan fight is great. Everything with Padme, the pregnancy is really well done. Besides the dying of a broken heart, but and then with
Apart
Return
from
of the Jedi,
dying of a broken heart, and the fact that Vader somehow can't sense that she's got 2 kids in her belly and not just one, and the fact that none of the other Jedis can sense she's pregnant either, or that they're even together.
Yes.
Or that I could go on, but or
Yeah,
the Bailey Organa just
movie's got
completely out of
plot holes.
nowhere adopts a kid that he has absolutely no interest in whatsoever in any of the other movies. Yeah, but let's not. Anyway, sorry.
But
What were you
but I
saying?
think Revenge of the Sith does a lot of good things, but it's just bogged down by crap.
Yeah.
I think Return of the Jedi is very similar in that site. But I know you're itching to get to the Ewoks. So you want to get to the Ewoks?
Well, actually, I was going to say first about the Luke and you were saying about the Luke and Vader and the Emperor.
Oh, that's right.
kind of
Right. Sorry, I
showdown.
have more points. Go ahead.
It occurred to me is like one of the things I liked actually, because I've always been bothered by how Vader was seemingly able to just pick up the Emperor and throw him down into the core of the Death Star. Like, I know it cost him his life, because when he picked him up, he's getting electrocuted and all his circuitry shorts out, and that's why he's dying, because his suit's shutting down. So I get, but still I was like, isn't he more powerful? Like, how do you, if anyone could just pick him up and throw him down, he should have been killed sooner. But there's a scene earlier on where basically Vader just comes in and tells him, like, a fleet of rebels have landed down on Endor, and he goes, yeah, I know. He says, my son is with them. And then the Emperor turns around and he says, are you sure? He says, I've felt his presence. And he goes, strange that I have not. I wonder if your feelings on this are clear. And when I watched that back, I thought, that's interesting that the Emperor wasn't able to sense that Luke was down there on the moon. Maybe that's a clue that he's not as powerful as he once was, that he's slipping a bit, and that there's a crack in the armor there, which is why Vader is probably able to pick him up and throw him down. So I thought, oh, that's interesting. There's kind of a hint that there's chinks in the armor there. Because he should be able to sense that Luke is there.
I just figured that Vader got to be more powerful than him. Like, as it always is, the apprentice would surpass the master. I thought that that's what they were hinting at there, because, in that Anakin Obi-Wan fight in Revenge of the Sith, Anakin is definitely, if not on the same level, a bit more skilled in that fight than Obi-Wan. Obi-Wan is constantly on the back foot of that fight. It's not until Anakin decides to be stupid, because Obi-Wan clearly had the high ground in that fight, even though Anakin had the high ground in several other fights. It's I thought it was more of Vader has become more powerful than the Emperor at that point.
Well, it could be, because there also is like the Emperor doesn't trust him with the information about what's going on. Yeah. Because like in one of those scenes, like Vader comes in and says to him, like, what is he? Yeah, the Emperor says to him, tell the fleet to move around to the other side of Endor. Doesn't tell him why. It's so they can come out and we have the it's a trap bit. And then he says, well, what about the rebel fleet that's massing over there? And he goes, it's of no concern. So he doesn't even trust Vader with the information that this is a trap.
Yeah.
So whether it's just because he doesn't trust anyone, or maybe he's not sure if he's feeding information to Luke or whatever. But yeah, that would fit in with like if Vader's starting to get stronger than him, that he's keeping him out of the loop. And there's actually the bit later on when the Emperor says to Luke, he's like, everything that's proceeding is done so by my design. Your friends down there on the moon, he exposed it all. There's a shot of Vader's face and realize, that's the first time that Vader actually realizes this is what's going on too. And it's another one of those moments where I think you can kind of see the expression where he's like, what? What the hell? So even he doesn't know what's going on. Yeah.
That's true. I think, and going to the actual fight itself, the Luke v. Vader fight in this, I think it's, in my opinion, after looking at it now, after watching Return of the Jedi, it's the third best lightsaber fight, in my opinion, only because the choreography is something to be impressed with, in my opinion. It doesn't look as well as Empire does, but it's not as fast moving, as intense as Phantom Menace. But there is so much weight behind this fight because every time it looks like Luke is going to, he's like, you know what? I can do this. I'm a Jedi like my father before me. And whenever it looks like, okay, so maybe he can get Vader on his side now. Here comes the Emperor. God. Let the hate flow through you. Kill him. Do it. And it's like, and it's such an emotionally charged fight as well. There's so much just negative connotation there, and it's only when Luke sees the error of his ways. He's cut off Vader's hand, and he looks at his own hand that he realizes that he has become Vader. He needs to stop. I did
think though, because like a lot of people talking about we might get evil Luke in Force Awakens, and you and I have spoken before about if we get evil Luke in Force Awakens, it kind of undercuts the ending of Return of the Jedi. So when I was sort of watching it again, I was watching it with that in mind, and I thought about it, and I was like, there is precedent because, like, Yoda does say multiple times, once you start down the dark path, forever it will dominate your destiny. And he does start down the dark path. Like, he tries to kill the Emperor in hate, and, like, Vader blocks it.
Yeah,
but he does that. He gives it to the dark side and cuts off his dad's. He pulls back at that last second, but he's already started down the dark path. Yeah. So when have we ever heard Vader be wrong about anything else, apart from the fact that Sidious is Palpatine in the prequels?
Well, you mean Yoda. you mean Yoda. You said Vader. To be fair, fair, I think all of us would have tried to snap the Emperor at that point. To be completely honest with you, I think every single one of us would do the exact same thing. Because I was getting annoyed, and then you pulled that light, I'm like, thank God.
And how else are you supposed to beat the bad guys if you don't kill them? It's like Morgan trying to be a Jedi. You have to kill the bad guys.
All right, steady on. And that's where I'm going with it. I think the best scene, maybe the best scene in the movie besides the burning his body at the end and that green lightsaber shot, is whenever Vader's like, sister, you have a twin sister. Yes. If you cannot be turned, maybe she can. Luke just goes, never! Just starts wailing at Vader. When that happened, it's such an emotional, and that he's not even like anger, like he's trying to be evil. It's just him like I'm going to destroy you. You have made me mad, and it's just I love that. It's so awesome.
And it's like because Ghost Obi-Wan says earlier he says bury your feelings deep down. He goes because they do you credit, but they could be made to serve the Emperor, which is exactly what happened there. Like either Vader or the Emperor or whatever, they know the only way Luke is really going to turn to the dark side is if you threaten someone he cares about. Mm-hmm. And Obi-Wan was right. That's exactly right. Another reason as to why he could maybe turn bad later on and have a Vader-style redemption in episode 8.
it's definitely there.
Yeah.
Just because, if you look at like that which is one of my other favorite scenes in the movie, is when he burns Vader's body. That again, such a beautiful moment. Bringing back that John Williams score, and it's the classic same score from Binary Sunset and A New Hope. But the look he gives, that face, is one that says, I have seen I have seen too much. Things have gone down. I've grown so much since being that farm boy on Tatooine. It's the face of saying, I really do think that's why he goes in the exile, soon after this.
Yeah.
You know, he has a kid and then he pieces.
Yeah, that makes sense to me because like he put himself in a self-exile because he did start down the dark path.
Yeah.
So he's trying to like cleanse himself or whatever Jedis do.
Yeah, you know.
But Yoda told him, the last of the Jedi will you be, pass on what you've learned, and if he's been in exile, hasn't been able to do that. So that's probably why
Until
everyone's
the Force
like, it's
Awakens.
a myth. It's a myth. Yeah.
Until the Force Awakens.
Yeah.
Me and my friend came up with this joke of like, what if at the end of every movie they like set the title of the next movie, and so like at the end of Revenge of the Sith, they're like, it's time for A New Hope, and then and at the end of like A New Hope, it's just like, don't worry, the Empire will strike back. At the end of Empire Strikes Back, it's like, we will see the return of the Jedi, and just like a complete
I was going
coincidence.
to make that the last line of my script.
Well, I knew that because I read the script. I didn't want to give that away, Bandit.
Well, that might
I
not be a
avoided that.
Yoda line. I'm going to see if I can get someone else to voice it. But just in case I can't, I've also got the recording of Yoda saying it from the Yoda guy.
Yes.
So
A New Hope. Yes. But then like if at the end of Return of the Jedi, it just goes, don't worry, one day the Force will awaken, and like they just throw that in there, and so we just had a running joke going along.
Speaking of running jokes, segue.
Yes.
You remember in
Okay.
Empire Strikes Back, when we talked about that, we were talking about how Vader keeps strangling all of the officers.
Yes.
And there's the guy who's at the bottom. I think it's Captain Needa. He sort of moves up the ranks, and he's like, and he gets to the top where he's Admiral Needa now.
Yes.
And when R2D2 fixes the hyperdrive and he zips away, he gets this look on his face where he's like, oh man, I'm dead now. But instead, Vader just turns around and walks off and like lets him live. And you see him again in this, Admiral Needa. He's in this.
Good.
Well, but he dies though. He's the one where, remember there's like a fighter jet that crashes through the bridge of the ship? That's where Admiral Needa dies.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
So he's like, yeah, he's that guy where he's like
taken out by his own TIE fighter. That sucks. Like,
Yeah.
it's a TIE fighter that crashes into that Star Destroyer.
Oh no, I think it was one of the rebel ships, one of the guys.
Was it? I thought it was. I don't know. Listen.
But
It's
he's
a good
the one
space
who's like,
battle.
we're not going to attack. We only need to keep them from escaping. I have my orders from
okay,
the
that's
Emperor
it.
himself. He's that guy.
Okay.
But
They
yeah,
all seem the
I
same
thought,
to
it's
me.
cool to see him again. So he survived, kind of.
Listen, we still know who the best Imperial character is. It's that guy who probably had a rough day at work, and when he got home, his wife said, "You know what you need to do? You need to stand up for yourself more, honey." He's like, "You know what? I will." And he got to work the next day, and he's like, "Don't leave your sorcerous ways out of this, Vader. This is
And
the
he's
prime
like,
spot for this or whatever." And then he gets his neck choked. We all know that is the best Imperial character up there with Grand Moff Tarkin.
But he didn't die either, though. He survived.
No, he didn't die. He survived, unless he was on the Death Star. But he just that.
He probably
I just
was
imagine
too.
him going home and his wife being like, "You need to stand up more for yourself." He's like, "You know what? I will, sweetie. I will." And he gets to work the next day. And he gets to come. How was it? I don't want to talk about it.
Yeah, I think there was a nice little callback when they're on Endor too, where Han's going to go down and like take out a couple of the stormtroopers down on the moon, and Luke turns to him and he says, "Quietly, there might be more of them down there." And he's like, "Hey, it's me." That's like a callback to in A New Hope, where he comes through and he's like, "Between his howling and your blasting, it's amazing the whole station doesn't know we're here." So this time when he's like, "Quietly," he's like referencing that. I was like, "Oh, that's good."
And then, the horror movie snaps a twig. and
Yeah,
gets
he
himself
screws it
knocked
up.
out.
I love in that fight too, where he's doing the judo moves to the stormtrooper, and then when Leia and Luke they jump on the speeder bikes and run away, and Han goes, "Hey, wait!" and then the stormtrooper grabs him and he flips him. When he says the line, "Hey, wait," in the bottom right corner of the scene, you can see the corner of the stormtrooper's helmet because the actor's standing there like waiting for him to finish his line before he attacks him.
Oh, George. Oh,
So I was like,
don't know how to.
George Lucas, you want to fix stuff
on.
in the special editions? Fix that, okay?
Speaking of special editions,
Yeah. Oh,
sweet Jesus.
oh boy.
Sweet
That
Jesus.
damn Jabba song.
Oh my God.
Horrendous.
Ugita, Ugita.
And you know the
sweet
guy,
Jesus.
one of the guys who's singing is the guy who owns Anakin in the prequels. Not the same character, but the same voice actor.
Wow.
Oh,
Andy, Watto?
Nubia.
Yeah, Watto.
That guy.
I like
That's him.
Yeah, I like Watto.
Watto, that's it. Yeah, but the singer is the same same voice actor is. Sounds exactly like him.
Wow.
Terrible. Because
Never have I seen a movie scene where I'm just like, this is just not.
it sticks out like a sore thumb, doesn't it?
Yeah. Oh my God. To quote Jeremy from Cinema Sins, whenever special justice happen, he's just like, "Ew, you got some of your Phantom Menace in my New Hope."
I think Red Letter Media put it best about that whole thing, where he goes, yeah, the childish, cartoony sing-song really fits in well with the atmosphere of a dark, dingy hangout of a vicious, vile gangster. Who cares that somebody gets eaten by a monster at the end of the song?
Yes,
while
he's choking a girl, while he's choking a stripper. Yes,
pulling her on a
very
chain going,
child-friendly.
like that. Yeah, it really works, doesn't it? So,
yeah.
Plus, the original song, I like the original song. That was kind of nicer.
I've never seen the original Star Wars movies.
Yeah, look it up on YouTube. The original song, it's pretty good.
I was born the year Phantom Menace came out. I never had that luxury. But the special, I don't like the way the Sarlacc looks.
That stupid beak thing. Why did they put the beak in?
He looks like the piranha plant from Mario.
And they made it squeal. They added all this thing. It's like, no, George. Little creatures squeal. Big creatures roar. A giant mouth in the desert should not be going like that.
Yes.
It should be going like in the original when it eats one and it burps. It should just do stuff like that.
Yeah, I've given up on trying to make George Lucas care about his movies. As we established 6 weeks ago when we talked about New Hope, George Lucas does not consider the 1977 version of New Hope his movie, which was why I don't consider it his movie anymore.
Yeah.
George Lucas's Star Wars is the 1997 special editions because that's the one he really wanted to make according to him. So,
And that's,
and I feel the same
the
about
thing,
Return of the Jedi.
Like when you make a story and you put it out there, you don't know what's going to resonate and what isn't.
Exactly.
But when something resonates, you focus on that. Like he wanted us to all focus on Jar Jar or whatever, but no. At least in the original trilogy, people like Han Solo, they kept him alive. We have Han Solo in Return of the Jedi. See, that's the way it should be.
Yes, even though they wanted to. Are you aware of the original kind of darker ending for Revenge of the Jedi? Or not Revenge of the Jedi, Return of the Jedi.
Yeah, where Luke was gonna. Well, he wasn't gonna turn evil exactly, but
he was gonna put on Vader's helmet and be like, I am Darth Vader." That was a.
I don't know if that was like an official script. I think it was a theory they threw around, but it was going to be from what Gary Kurtz, the producer, said. It was more bittersweet, where it was going to be more kind of like we still need to keep fighting at the end, and it was going to be Han dies in the raid on the shield generator. Luke sort of walks off into the sunset like a gunslinger in a western, and Leia is sort of left to pick up the pieces of the Rebel Alliance and continue on alone. So it was supposed to be like a bittersweet ending. Which sounds like they were planning for more movies after it.
Well, George always wanted to do 8, 9, and 10, or 7, 8, 9, and then 10, 11, 12. George wanted to do a bunch of trilogies.
Yeah, well, that's what he says.
I love that. I love that ending.
I think we all know he wouldn't have had it in him to make them.
Yeah, I love that ending. Holy man, that's a good ending. That's a Force Awakens should end.
I disagree. I don't think it works as an ending for a trilogy. Because, if they were going to continue to make movies, that would have been great. It would have been another Empire Strikes Back kind of thing. But they obviously didn't. It needed to be a self-contained trilogy, and you need the happy ending at the end.
It's better than what we got.
Even if there are dancing Ewoks.
It's better than what we got. God, that ending sucks.
No, it's like Mockingjay Part 2. You get the happy bit where she's smiling with her kids because it's the end of the trilogy or the quadrilogy.
Yeah, too bad I didn't care about Katniss because Jennifer Lawrence does not make Katniss a compelling character.
No, you don't say anything bad about Jennifer Lawrence.
Katniss isn't written to be a very well compelling character because in the books she's kind of an anti-hero. She's very much I don't want to be here, and she steps up. In the movie, she just looks bored the whole time.
Yeah,
and I don't care about what's going on.
But the point is, you need the happy ending to wrap everything up at the end of the trilogy. So that's why I think the happy ending for Return of the Jedi would have worked better than what they possibly would.
And also it sells more toys, Bandit, because that's what you need to do. So I mean, if that's what this is, then sure. But I just.
Do you want to talk about the Ewoks?
Do you want to get to the Ewoks?
Yeah, let's cover the Ewoks.
Yes.
First time merchandising really raised its ugly head and actually stuck something in the movie rather than the toys being a product of the movie. This was the other way around. First time
Weren't
it
they
happened.
originally going to be Wookiees? Like, they were going to go to Kashyyyk or whatever, weren't they? They were going to be Wookiees.
Sure, here's the full story.
Okay.
They were originally going to be Wookiees, which makes so much more sense as to why they could beat up stormtroopers, because they're 8 foot tall, super strong.
Yes.
But this was George Lucas's thinking. He didn't want that because on Endor they've got that primitive culture, but Chewie is really good at fixing machines. So he said, how can we have a primitive culture if Chewie's so good at it? So instead, changed them from Wookiees, took the word Wookiee, switched the letters around to make Ewok, made them short
Christ.
instead of tall, and
Jesus
that's how we
Christ.
got them. And
Oh my god.
not only, like, that's why they call it Ewoks, they just flip the letters of Wookiee around, and it goes Ewok.
First
But
of all,
you don't need to do that. Listen.
Ewok, first of all, Ewok is Wook backwards, but we'll get back to that.
Yeah, it's not even a total inversion. It's just they sort of took the first and the end of the words and swapped them. But anyway, it's look, and it's like, okay, first of all, having it be the Wookiees fighting stormtroopers, like we said, makes so much more sense in so many different ways. And if the only problem is that Chewie knows how to fix things while the civilization on Endor is primitive, easy, just explain that Chewie was adopted and Han taught him how to do it. You don't need
That's
to
what I'm saying.
change
like,
the whole species.
Maybe Chewie learned this stuff as he's gone through the years because
Right.
you know they
like
showed
maybe he was
Kashyyyk
taken
in
as a
Revenge of the
kid
Sith,
off
and
the
it's
planet, and
yeah.
yeah.
Kashyyyk in Revenge of the Sith it looks a lot like Endor. You know, when you look at Endor and Kashyyyk, they look very similar. You know,
Yeah.
I just
Like in that final battle when the Ewoks show up, there's a couple of bits where like Chewie like picks up a stormtrooper and like throws him into another guy. Could you imagine if there's a whole army of that going on?
I would buy that the stormtroopers got trounced then.
Yeah.
Because if they still want to do the whole primitive culture versus technological thing, that works because you can still have the man versus nature kind of issues. You know, like why would you ruin that? I don't understand.
Yeah, it'd be great. And and like if you wanted to have the cute little things for the kids, you could still have like a couple of Ewoks and you could just make it their baby Wookiees.
There.
You know?
There. Baby Wookiees. Just like the Christmas special.
Yeah, like how Leia, she crashes a speeder bike and she meets the little Ewok. Still have all that happen, but when he brings her back to the camp, they're all giant Wookiees now.
Yes.
And it also makes sense as to why, like, remember when they're surrounded by the Ewoks and they all hand over their weapons? Just kick them in the face.
Mm-hmm.
They're these little things. You don't need to. And then they're like tie them up and they're gonna cook them. It's like they're 2 feet tall. How do they tie you up?
And
if they were
this
Wookiees,
way,
that'd make sense.
This way, you could have kind of more of an emotional pull. Like this gives Chewbacca and Han something to want to root for because you're now not only fighting for the Ewoks, you're fighting for the Wookiees, and the Wookiees you don't want Chewbacca's race to go if the Empire wins. And
they could actually expand out a bit of like Chewie's character. Like maybe if he was taken from that planet as like a really young Wookiee, so he doesn't know how to interact with these others. Maybe that could be how they. Like, Chewie's the one, like, you know how they thought C-3PO was a god? And, like, he's the one who sort of gets them out of being cooked. Like, they could have made it that Chewie goes in there and he somehow does it, you know?
Oh, man. Chewbacca's Wookiee Jesus.
Yeah, like
Moses.
he can go, hey, look, I know all this mechanical stuff. And they're like, whoa,
Wookiee Moses.
he's the Wookiee Messiah.
I want to see that movie now, Wookiee Moses.
Still voiced by Christian Bale. You know? Just have him doing all the growling.
Well, you just cut together that video from him from Terminator Salvation, and you'll find a lot of growls in that. You and me, we'll done it professionally.
Yeah. But I'll tell you what, that speeder bike chase is great. Even though those are probably the worst vehicles you could have for going through a forest, it's still a fantastic chase.
I'm 50-50 on it.
Well,
everything.
That's kind of like the pod race in Phantom Menace if it was good. It would have been like that.
Well, I love the pod race, but that's just because it looks cool. I think everything where it's like a kind of a first person shot where the camera's rushing through the forest and it's panning through. It looks a lot like the shot in New Hope whenever he's going down to the trench run and he first goes into the trench. But everything with Luke and Leia on the actual bikes and fighting the stormtroopers, that looked really fake to me. Like I feel like that didn't hold up. But everything where you just see in the background and seeing how fast these things are going, I think works a lot better. So I'm 50-50 on that speeder bike chase. Yeah.
Oh, something I was going to mention. See, I'm scrolling through the list I made. Is
Right.
when so I was watching it and I was thinking about, wouldn't it be great if it was Wookiees? I thought, then remember how there's you could have a bit like if they were all Wookiees, you could have a bit where one of the little baby Wookiees, the Ewoks, is threatened by a stormtrooper, and then a Wookiee comes and grabs him and pulls his arms out of his sockets.
Wow.
Because remember how there's that bit, Wookiees don't pull people's arms out of their sockets? That'd be great. I'd love that.
I'm sure that's what happened to C-3PO, and that's why he has a red arm now. But
Yeah,
that being
yeah.
said,
Totally.
that being said, they couldn't do that.
That'd probably be too gory, but it would have been great. Yeah.
Yeah. I think
That's
the
a
most
bit
they
of
could do
my
is have
fantasy
people
directing.
lose. Yeah, I never want to see a Bandit Incorporated Star Wars movie.
Mind you, that'd be so funny because all the kids would be like, Ewoks, and then all of a sudden just Wookiee grabs him by arms and he's like, ah! That'd be fantastic.
It reminds me of the Family Guy parody of Return of the Jedi, where like Han finds them and like makes them dig their own graves with their helmets. And he's just like, I'm sick of all this Ewok crap. We have some violence in here. He's like, you guys go out there, dig your own graves. And he's like, please, I have a family. He's like, no, you gotta take this blaster and shoot him in the face. I'm like, wow.
You know, another cool thing with C-3PO though is like, as much as I hate the Ewok scene where he's telling them the story of what's happened in the last few movies, and he's got sound effects and everything as he's telling the story.
That was cool. Yeah.
Yeah, which is strange considering that in A New Hope he specifically says to Luke, I'm not much more than an interpreter and not very good at telling stories. Well, not at making them interesting anyway. So either that's a mistake or it's to show that he's actually progressed as a character and now he is able to tell stories.
He's probably grown as a character, so he's good at telling stories.
So the droids, they have emotions, they feel pain, and they progress and develop personalities.
Yeah.
It's really mean that they're enslaved.
you gotta Bandit. We gotta get past, dude. It was the 80s, man.
It's
Come
the
on.
abolition. It's the abolition of
the-
robot slavery. I'm telling you.
I want to see that Star Wars movie now. Oh my god. It's like an Abraham Lincoln of the droids.
Yeah, they
Just
do
kinda-
like a space Armistead. Am I not a man? No, you're a robot.
Like you see one of the droids, like after they become free, like they give a speech. I have a dream that one day, and like it's part of the king.
All droids will be created equul.
Equal.
Literally created because we are built in factories.
But we'll still get less pay than humans. I have a dream.
Why can't I vote? Because this is a space dictatorship. Oh, good point.
Yeah. That's true. That's true. You can't vote in an empire. That's true. Yeah. Well, what about our Republic? Yeah. Well, we tried that, but that didn't really. Don't worry about it.
There is a weird bit though later on when Luke tells Leia that they're brother and sister, and he's like, the Force is strong in my family. I have this power, and she's like, you have a power? Impossible. It could never happen. Even though we all just saw you levitate C-3PO across all the Ewoks' heads.
Even though you're the one that sensed. You felt the power yourself because you sensed Luke.
Yeah,
in Empire.
She says that. She's like, somehow I've always known, even though I kissed you multiple times.
That line is that is the worst line in this movie. Somehow I've always known. And like there are separate moments when people realize what they've done incest wise. Like whenever Leia tells Han he's my brother, he gives that look he's thinking about. He's like, oh,
yeah,
God.
there's a YouTube video of that.
You guys legit made out.
There's a YouTube video of that where she says that, and then the music goes do 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 like that, like alarm bells, and it like shows like a flashback of them making out, and he's just like, ugh.
Luke has that same thought too. Though, when he realizes Leia's his sister, he gets a look of like, oh.
And when the ghost Obi-Wan tells him, he's like, oh, the other he spoke of was your twin sister. He's like,
yeah.
He probably really should have told them that earlier because they were flirting pretty heavily in A New Hope.
Right as about to kiss, like, oh, it's like, no.
Yeah, he's just lucky they didn't take it any further.
Yeah,
it's probably a deleted scene where he's like, dude, you probably could have told me that earlier.
Yeah. He's like, oh, we did stuff, Obi-Wan. Like, what? This is not cool. Like, things happened. And Obi-Wan's just like, no one will know. Just don't talk about it. Besides, Leia kind of always knew anyways. She's into weird stuff, Luke.
Yeah, but there is that scene as well where he's talking to her in that bit, and he asks her about, like, do you remember your mother, your real mother? So he specifies, so he's talking about Padme, because some people say, maybe she's just remembering a stepmother, but he does say your real mother, and the whole point of the scene is he's asking, because it's his mother too. And she says, yeah, she died when I was very young, according to the prequels, like, really? Like 1 hour young.
Like 3 minutes?
3 minutes, yeah. So, and she says she was very, very beautiful, very kind, but sad. So very astute if she picked all that up from 3 minutes.
I always picked it as, she is force sensitive. I figured that, when she was a little kid, she had visions of what her mother looked like, She saw possible. Padme.
Possible, but see, if she was able to do that, then Luke shouldn't have needed to ask her. He would have been able to get those memories through the Force as well, because he's more powerful than her. Sorry, I'm determined to nitpick this.
I mean, maybe he did, but maybe he didn't. But it's poetry, Bandit. It rhymes.
Yeah.
I don't know. Listen, I'm not a big fan of this movie, but that's what happens.
Did you know the director is actually in this movie?
Richard Marquand, he's in it?
Yeah. He's the bit where, when Han and Leia are placing the charges inside the Rebel base, and there's a guy who comes around the corner and he goes, freeze! And Han throws a box at him and then he falls over the railing. Remember that guy? That was the director.
Oh! He did the Wilhelm scream. Yeah. Okay, well, that's a nice little cameo by Richard Marquand. I have to remember that in case it comes up in trivia contests, because that is the only Star Wars director I can't remember is Richard Marquand. So I got to keep that in my brain for a while. Okay,
yeah, the guy who got hit with a box. There you go.
Yes. All right. So further thoughts on Return of the Jedi, Bandit?
Well, I liked the bit is when the Death Star's like falling apart towards the end, and like that Luke is like dragging Vader out. And you see there's other Imperial guys running around, but I like that no one's helping them.
Yeah.
Everyone's just like, every man for himself, abandoned ship. I never liked that guy anyway. He choked a friend of mine. Just leave him there. Like nobody, I like that. That was a good touch.
Yeah.
And I like that. And
when Vader dies.
Oh, yeah.
When Vader dies, good scene. Let me look upon you with my own eyes. I'm like, oh, Vader. And then, he dies and he's just like, he's like, tell your sister you were right. I'm like, that's gosh darn it, because it's good. And it's just, I feel like Lawrence Kasdan wrote all the good stuff and Lucas wrote all the bad stuff. This was written by Lucas and Kasdan. I really feel like Kasdan was trying here. Lucas was just like, okay, and then the Ewoks will do some bumbling fun stuff, and then it'll cut back and Kasdan will be like, and then Vader says this because this means this and this, and then it'll cut back and be like, and then we'll make this much money by making these toys, and it's just like this back and forth that doesn't blend well.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much the only input he must have had. So is the whole Ewok thing. But I think that actor who was like the face of Vader under the mask, I think he did a good job with his voice as well. I believe that was also the voice that came out through the mask. It sounded similar enough, didn't it?
Yes, it sounded. It was basically, it felt. Yes, exactly. A lot like Kylo Ren's mask in Force Awakens.
Yeah.
It still sounds like Adam Driver underneath it.
Yeah, that was. Yeah, I like that scene. That was where Vader became Anakin again, which makes it even worse that they changed the Force Ghost.
That it's Hayden Christensen.
Yes.
That and George Lucas is like, well, because that was the last time he was a good guy. Like, really, when he killed those children, he looks like Hayden Christensen back when he killed those kids.
Yeah, that's another example.
Shouldn't he really look like Hayden Christensen from Attack of the Clones? Because Hayden Christensen in Revenge is pretty much for the whole movie, like down to right when he kills Dooku. It's pretty much the kickoff of him being Darth Vader. So.
I know, and it's typical Lucas, because again, he's missing the whole point of that ending. No, the last time he's good is right before he dies. That's the whole point of the ending.
That's the whole point.
And again, he just put Hayden Christensen in there because he wants to force us to try to accept the prequels, even though we don't want to.
I can imagine, we're all, whenever we watch a special edition, he's just like, no, and George Lucas is just like, search your feelings, you know it to be true, and and he's like, you must realize the power of the special edition.
So that was Return of the Jedi.
Yes, it was. That was Return of the Jedi. I was, it was better than I thought it was, but it's still not very good. It has a lot of great moments in it, but it's bogged down by a lot of middling trash I wasn't a fan of. The Ewoks are terrible. Han Solo is not a very good character in this one, in my opinion. But a great use of Vader and the Emperor, great conflict between Luke and Vader, great space battles. But that's pretty much all in the third act, and that still gets smuggled down by a lot of the Ewok stuff. So I will give Return of the Jedi 6 out of 10.
I'd give it like an 8 out of 10. Because the only thing you said I agree with is the Ewoks.
Okay.
So if they'd changed them to Wookiees, I think it would have been a 10 out of 10. Perfect ending to round out the trilogy.
Excuse me. I'd like to ask you a few questions.
Welcome to Listener Questions. Now, I don't normally have to say that because Trey is the host and that's his job. But Trey has been called away unexpectedly and was unable to finish the podcast. So this, what you're hearing now, is being edited in after the fact. So as soon as we finished the Return of the Jedi discussion, we just did the wrap-up bit. And this is something I'm inserting now. So it's just you and me. So it's my time to shine. Here am I, talking to myself in an empty room like a crazy person. Okay, guys, let's cover some of the listener questions that you guys have sent. Again, apologies for my laziness and lack of foresight in thinking to ask for questions ahead of time. But now that will be solved because we have the official Movie Mania podcast page where anyone can post any question anytime they want. So it shouldn't be an issue again. So you guys, regardless, there have been a couple of responses from you guys. And I'm going to start with an email that Henry Banning sent me. Hello, Henry. Crazy Space Knight of Ren. Sorry, yes. Thank you, Crazy Space Knight of Ren. I just gave away your secret identity. Okay. But he asked, hey, Bandit, I have a question for the podcast. What is the biggest plot twist in movies and comics? Thanks. Well, I think for the biggest plot twist for movies, I would say, I'm going to go old school with this. I actually think it would be the twist in Psycho. The big reveal at the end. The classic... I blanked on his name. What is it, the director? Oh, man. Alfred Hitchcock. Man, how could I even forget his name for a minute? The classic Psycho movie from Alfred Hitchcock. Because the twist that was revealed in that was the first time a twist like that had really ever been done. And now you get it all the time. And the twist is the crazy mother is the split personality of the son. So he's both people, but he thinks they're separate people. And that's been done plenty other times. Like Fight Club did that. It's been done multiple times that, a villainous character is actually the main character who has split personality disorder. That's always the big sort of mind-bending reveal. Psycho did it first, and I think Psycho did it best. They did it best. So for movies, I'd go with that. For comics, I don't know if you'd really call this a twist, but more of a reveal. But I think the ending of Red Son, where Lex Luthor, who's dead by the end of Red Son, because it's an Elseworld story, and he defeats Superman with just one sentence. And that's where Superman, because in this alternate world, Lex Luthor is the president, he's married to Lois Lane, because Superman's craft crashed in the middle of Soviet Russia. So he's grown up in the Soviet Union. And it ends with him invading America, and Lex is already dead by then. Brainiac's in it, he's killed off Lex. So Lois Lane, who's the First Lady, meets Superman on the steps of the White House and hands him a note from Lex Luthor. And he said he wrote this before he died. In case this happened, he wanted me to give it to you. And Superman opens it, and the reveal is it's just one sentence that says, why don't you just put the whole world in a bottle? And that's because Superman and Brainiac have teamed up at that point. And that's how he's able to invade and defeat America and all that, from advanced technology from Brainiac, because after he beats Brainiac in a feud they have, he blah, blah, blah. Anyway, but he has a conversation earlier on in the comic with Brainiac, because, Brainiac shrinks down cities and keeps them in a bottle, and Superman says, how can you do that to those people? And he says, well, I provided them everything they need. I'm just doing it in a controlled environment. So when Lex hands Superman that, or through Lois hands Superman that note, and it says, "Why don't you just put the whole world in a bottle?" It's it's a really great reveal. I don't know if it's a twist, but it's a great reveal because he's basically, in one sentence, making Superman see that he's become one of the things that he hated and the things that he formerly used to oppose and all that sort of stuff. So it's just a way of showing him what he's become. I think that's a good reveal. Probably not a twist, but anyway. All right, let's go to what do we got here on Twitter. Let me see if you guys... This is the problem when you're doing a podcast by yourself. You don't have someone to talk for you while you're doing other things. Okay, Boaz Bolton. Good username, Boaz Bolton. The Boltons send their regards. What is your favorite part about the fan/nerd community? Brackets, speculation, fan fiction, collectors, items. You know, this... I know it sounds so bloody cheesy, but I like the imagination and the enthusiasm. That's my favorite part of the nerd fan community, is just our raw enthusiasm and the imagination that we put into, like, not only just fan fiction stuff like us do, but if you look at like I do, but if you look at cosplay as well, the amount of effort and creativity that goes into designing some of those costumes, I think it's what makes nerds very special. And I say, being a nerd just means that you like something, that you're enthusiastic about something. Like if you're a sports fan and you go crazy, like absolutely crazy whenever your team wins, you're a sport nerd. Yeah, you are. You're a sport nerd. You know, if you're a girl out there and you see like half-price shoes that are your favorite kind of shoes and you kind of flip out and you go a little bit crazy, you start fangirling out, you're a shoe nerd. You're a fashion nerd. You know, everybody's a nerd for something. So that's what I like about us nerds. That's my favorite part of the nerd community, is just the energy that we bring and the enthusiasm and the happiness. So I'm not sure if that's exactly the answer you were looking for. But yeah, really, that's my favorite part of the nerd community. Okay, what else we got? Chase Berry said, better movie, Cop Dog or The Phantom Menace? Well, I haven't seen Cop Dog. I've only seen Red Letter Media's making fun of Cop Dog, which is kind of the same as like seeing the movie. Which is better? Which is better? You know what? I'm actually going to have to give it to Phantom Menace. Neither of them is good. It's like, again, Red Letter Media trying to find best of the worst here. Neither of them is good, but I would probably have to say that Phantom Menace is better, because Cop Dog, from what I've seen, is just like there was a lot of stuff in Phantom Menace that didn't make sense, right? Or like with the whole pod racing, everyone's like, well, why didn't Qui-Gon just steal, if he needs a part, just steal the part, or just tell him he's a Jedi and you'll send him credits later, do something else. You know, there's lots of stuff like that in Phantom Menace, but in Cop Dog, God, what am I trying to say? See, like in Phantom Menace, the things that don't make sense, they're not as central to the plot. But Cop Dog, the whole premise of it doesn't make sense. It's about a ghost dog. He's not a cop dog. He's a ghost dog. And they're trying to catch these thieves who, by using chewing gum, that some of them like chew chewing gum and stick it on a tree near where their hideout is. And like the whole premise is kind of about that. And like, I think when your core premise is so broken like that, there's no way you can come back from that. At least in Phantom Menace, the premise is, here's Anakin Skywalker. We want to see how he becomes, starts getting trained as a Jedi. So at least that is solid. So best of the worst would have to be the Phantom Menace over Cop Dog. Okay, what else we got? That might be it here for Twitter. So let's go to the Facebook page. See where you guys... There we go. All right, here's a couple comments from you guys. Here's one I was thinking of. Okay, Starheart Fallen Star said, what could be the worst version possible of Civil War and Dawn of Justice? Bracket, just your imagination based off the trailer of what we've seen so far. So I've got to try to imagine what would be the worst case scenario for both of them. That's a good question. Let me think about that. Well, let me start with Civil War. For Civil War, I think the worst case scenario for me with Civil War would be if they don't even try to connect it to like a superhero registration act in any way. Like in the trailer, there's a hint that it might be, but I think worst case scenario is they don't take any of that political stuff at all, and it's basically just feels like every other time that Stark and Captain America have fought each other. I think that'd be the worst case. Like, no, you know what? Scratch that. Worst case scenario would be it's just another Marvel movie. That's it. Like, you know how Ant-Man, it was like we had fun, it was entertaining, but that felt very formulaic. Like, that'd be the worst case for Civil War if it's just that formula again, because it's gotten to the point where they do need to shake it up now. So I think worst case scenario is they stick to the formula and do just another one of those. Because not only is it they haven't shooken things up, but they've also ruined their opportunity to use the Civil War storyline. So that'll be worst case scenario for Civil War. I don't think that will happen. I think it will be pretty good overall. But if I had to pitch to you what I think would be the worst case scenario, that'd be it. As for Batman v Superman, worst case scenario. I'm sorry, I'm going to get a lot of hate. I know every time I complain about this, I'm going to get... But to be honest, you're asking me my opinion. I just have to give you my opinion. So I don't mean to take a low blow on any of you guys who are excited for this, because I'm excited too. But honestly, I think a lot of the worst case scenarios for this have already happened. I'm sorry. Like Jesse Eisenberg as Lex is a worst case scenario. And I won't say Ben Affleck is a worst case scenario now, because from what we're seeing, he seems to be a lot better. But Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman, worst case scenario. Jesse Eisenberg, worst case scenario. And Doomsday is kind of a worst case scenario. So much of, yeah. I guess it just depends, like, because there would have been a time when I'd say that the worst case scenario for Batman v Superman is they still have the depressing tone from Man of Steel, and it's not, and they don't learn anything from that. They just have more destruction of city with no the superheroes that apparently have no concern for civilian casualties. There was a time when I'd say that'd be worst case scenario, but I think based off the trailer of what we've seen so far, it seems like they have learned their lesson in those regards. So, yeah, this is a hard question to answer. Worst case scenario for Batman v Superman. No, I got it. Sorry, again, guys, sorry, it's just me talking here, so I don't have Trey to back me up with this stuff. But worst case scenario, they kill Superman at the end. They have Doomsday kill Superman. That's it. That's your worst case scenario right there. That'd be the worst thing they could possibly do, so they probably will do it, because not only does it ruin the death of Superman's story arc, it wastes Doomsday, because he's not even really Doomsday, like we already talked about that earlier in the show. But also, it'd be a total waste of time, because we already know he's going to come back. But the next movie after it, after like Wonder Woman and Suicide Squad, is Justice League. We know he's going to be there again. So yeah, that'd be the worst case for Batman v Superman if Superman dies at the end. Worst case scenario. Okay. Okay, no, that's it. All right. That's it for questions, guys.
Well, thank you all for watching. Nice episode today. We did a nice recording of Return of the Jedi and Walking Dead and all the movie news that happened today. Bandit, where can people find you?
The people can find me on YouTube and Facebook and Twitter as Bandit Incorporated. But we should also mention our new Movie Mania
Facebook page. Yes, of course.
Yes, just set up literally at the start of this podcast. I'll set one up on Twitter as well. So from now on, guys, you can go to the Movie Mania pages either on Twitter or Facebook. Just search for us. You'll find us pretty easy. Mm-hmm. And post any questions you want anytime there. If you want to show us any images of like leaked stuff or whatever, you can put it on there for us. And yeah.
And they can find me at and they can find me on Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube, all at Podcast Media. Special thanks to Milan Jeftik for the channel art. Special thanks to all of you guys who have been supporting the channel. I'm at 305 subscribers. I hit 300 last week, which is really cool. Thank you guys to who watched Bandit's Return Revenge of the Sith video. He worked really hard on it. Come back next week when we talk about whatever it is we're talking about. Catch you all later on Movie Maniacs.